I'll call the select board meeting for Monday, August 19th to order at 7 p.m. Review the agenda for additional removal or adjustments or any items for one VSA. Anything? Nothing? Public forum, a moment for people to speak, not on the agenda, to share a concern with us. Jimmy's got his hand up first.
When you get to number 8, I'd like to be heard before you start dialogue.
Okay. Slim? Yeah. Slim? Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, Jimmy, is that all? Just you want to hear? Okay.
Oh, so glad
You're early.
It was.
So anyway, I'm here to talk a little bit more about my last subject, which is the use of synthetic pesticides and herbicides in town. And one of the issues I thought was a big one last time was the authority over the use by individuals, let's say. And I did take the time, and I looked up, and yes, in Maine at least, there are communities, Portland's a big one, that has really nice ordinance that controls all use of synthetic herbicides and pesticides. Apparently it's legal, and it restricts completely use on law, citizens, let's say, have their own personal property, lawns, landscaping, etc., these sorts of things. It's all completely restricted. So A, apparently it's legal, which is one question, and B, they also have, what do you call it, outs of, flexibility for some certain invasive species or this or that, so you don't have to it doesn't have to be draconian. But it seems to me it would be a very good idea, something you might want to look into, because we might not be on the same page on, the actual threat of harm to the individual using it, if they're careful, may not be so much in his or her lifetime. That doesn't have to be the only thing you think about, because obviously, I think it's obvious if you study it that, for example, our pollinators and other insects, which are very, very, very important to our well-being, are in tremendous decline. They're getting wiped out, and one of the big reasons is artificial, or I should say synthetic, I think is a better word, pesticides and herbicides. And yes, ants are our friends, and so are worms, and so are dung beetles, and so are butterflies, and so are bees. And we know how bad bees are off, and we know if you read about it, I believe what I read in this. You can choose not to, but they're in severe decline all over the world, and one of the big, big reasons is artificial or synthetic pesticides and herbicides. There are natural alternatives for any of these problems. There's plenty of organic growing going on, so I'm just here to encourage you, because I'm sure, apparently it is legal to do this. I'd like you to look into it. There's no reason to have maybe even untrained citizens spraying deadly poisons, if not to their neighbor, which I think it may be, but also for sure to insects that are so important to our continued living. We can't, in my opinion, we can't continue going on with our chemical agricultural practices, and certainly the place where we can start is to get the ball rolling in our own little village, which you might not think is a big deal, but obviously every little bit counts, and it would be, I think, a really helpful project to take on. So that's what I got to say. I don't know if you have anything.
Can you give us a list of alternatives of natural insecticides and the rest?
Let me ask a more direct question. I've done some research on the vinegar, a little bit of, was it Blue Dawn, and that kind of stuff. It takes a little longer, but it does work.
Yeah.
Does that impact the insects in any way, to your knowledge?
I can't say I'm
that seems like a much more natural thing to do.
Yeah.
And one of my concerns is Main Street, because it's terrible. Around the fire hydrant on the north side, the weeds are out this far on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
We use the vinegar and soap.
And I've used it before, and it does work.
I was a landscaper for a while, and I used that, and it's definitely. One thing people will say, but that kills everything, pretty much, right? I mean, if you have a pathway, you spread it on.
Well, we want to kill everything on Main Street.
Exactly. There's plenty of places that you want to do that.
Yeah.
But there's that. There's I use for ants. You can use diatomaceous earth, and there's other borax products that work very well. It just keeps them away. You don't actually kill them, but they don't like it. They just go away. I've used diatomaceous earth for carpenter ants and other critters up in the woods where we live, and we live right in the woods. There's lots of of that little insect sort of friends coming along. I don't want to kill them off, but I do. They just keep somewhere. They don't like it. It might kill one or two, but they run away. They just don't like to be scratched up like that. I have gardened over in the community garden. I certainly don't use any pesticides there. Nobody does. You just don't have to. But diatomaceous earth is one good one to answer that question.
Well, that's one. And you said there were several. I was just wondering if
I could.
I don't know
what
any of them,
kind
so
of,
I'd like you to know.
Well,
I'd like you to tell me what.
Bending over and picking out a weed is also a good way. Or if you want to kill a bug on your plant, you can take it off and put it in your little can, and take it away. There's a more labor-intensive ways.
Yes.
One question I did have though. Now you said, and I was very happy to hear that you guys don't, as a town, we don't use any of this herbicide or pesticide on our town doesn't actually use it. But do you know people who take care of the park? It's not a town. These are people who are hired, right?
Mm-hmm.
And other common areas, like we do know that, let's say for example, Parmo does use these things. Do you know if anybody, the people who take care of the park, might use herbicide, synthetic herbicides?
Eric is my road foreman in the back, telling me now.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. That's
All right.
5 minutes. So thank you very much.
Okay.
So again, major point. Consider it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Bob is not here.
Yes,
he is.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Bob. I didn't see you come in. Okay. You want to come up?
Joel, we had a couple others come in.
Does anybody else have anything for public forum? No?
I just have a question about process. So I wasn't clear on the agenda says for, you don't want the public comments, or you do want the public comments up front for things that are later down the agenda? Because
No,
some of
that
the
are
comments
not on
are
the
about the agenda.
If you've got something like Slim did, you want to talk a minute about pesticides in town.
Right.
It's not on the agenda. It didn't ask to be on the agenda, so he gets up to 5 minets to speak on it.
All right, so I got one thing, and one thing that is on the agenda that I wait till you're on that.
Right.
Okay. Ready, Bob.
You and Nori going to go back to him after Bob.
He said he had something.
He had
to
one
speak.
He's got one.
You got one
that's
without on it, John, I'm sorry. You have one that's not on the agenda you want to speak?
Correct.
Okay, bring that now, I'm sorry.
Oh, did you? No. Almost. So this is a quick one. So I know you're, it's not straight away on the agenda, but I know you're thinking about the drainage on Mountain Street, or rather the sidewalk on Mountain Street. And when I saw that the agenda, it just made me think, just on the street where the upper trading post driveway hits the street, it's really dug out there. And so my tenants are avoiding essentially a pothole there. The water gets some speed, and when it hits some of the bumps in the pavement, it starts to dig it out. And every couple of years it gets pretty bad, and now it's pretty bad. So my tenants are sort of driving across the lawn to avoid a huge divot in the road surface.
That's between the edge of the road and the sidewalk?
It's outside the sidewalk on the roadside.
So is that between the edge of the road and the sidewalk?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
It's
so.
not in the
I mean,
road.
it is the edge of the road,
Before the sidewalk. In the
right where
area
it meets,
before
right where the
meets
asphalt of the
sidewalk.
road
Where the
meets
traveling,
the
it's not in
cement.
the traveling portion of the road.
I mean, hopefully nobody's driving like right
It's
on
in the
it.
swale.
It's in the swale as much as there is a swale
Yes.
there.
Right.
And when I had to replace some of that sidewalk along there back in 05 or 06 when I did the trading post, and I did with my own volition, I did the whole run of that sidewalk, like 130 feet or something like that, and so that I could set the sidewalk, the inside line of the sidewalk is a high pitch, so the sidewalk plus the road forms kind of
A
unofficial
valley.
swale gully to take the surface water. And that worked to keep the water off the front of the building, which was the problem I was trying to solve there. But now it's just that water comes over that hill, starts down, and it just kind of works up the pavement, and it's a bad spot. And you just put it on your radar, that's all. If that's, I don't know exactly what.
Well, the sidewalk is from Garfield to Spring, so it's.
Right, so I saw that and I was like, oh, this is a chance I need to come and put
I
that
know
on your
exactly
radar.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, you walk by every day.
Every day, twice a day minimum.
So, and you can see next time, tomorrow morning, you'll
Yeah.
see where my tenants are driving
I
across
saw
the
it today.
lawn and widening the driveway there to get around that spot.
So what's the solution?
The solution is to do that, I think, shovel-ready plan that you guys have to do more underground surface water drainage along that side of the mountain. That's the real solution long-term, if we can get the feds to fund it, or whoever, state or feds to fund it. But Meanwhile, I think it's a little
cold
patch and
cold
fill.
patch?
Yeah,
Cold
cold
patch
patch
probably.
is probably the near-term thing. And then it'll last a year or two maybe, and then again,
Or a month or two.
or a month or two, depending on the freeze thaw.
All right, thanks, John. Okay, Bob, now. Okay, is this a continuation, put your water commissioner hats on, and continuation of Bob's?
Has there been any conversation with the town expert on
With the water
system
system operator,
since he was there the night before and dealt with the pipe and
I spoke with him at length on Friday afternoon, and he said he didn't feel that the curb stop being bent had anything to do with the fitting failing. The other thing he said that I haven't shared with the board yet is that you've already set precedent on Pine Street. We did the same exact repair, and the homeowner paid for it all.
was
Is-
there any explanation on how the
The,
horizontal pipe could get bent? There were no roots when it got dug up. There were
yeah,
no roots.
it could have got hit like I told you, I've bent a number of those, and I've dug up a number that are bent, and typically it doesn't affect the curb itself.
Okay, the
The,
ones that you bent, were they soldered together or were they compression fittings?
I don't know. I don't know if they were soldered, compression, or flared.
And-
I will tell you, Ted, that the other thing that I've learned is that I said the pipe had failed. I was wrong. The pipe didn't fail. What happened was the solder failed, let the water spray out, and that's what cut the pipe.
Yes.
And if you look at the pictures, you can see that that's what happened. Because I had originally said that the pipe had failed, and the pipe did fail, but the pipe failed because
Direct pressure.
Because it was-
because the water was just like a knife cutting on it all.
It's also the wrong pipe.
Right.
It's a thin-walled, rigid pipe, and it should not have been installed that way.
But that's not
correct.
the town's fault.
Hmm?
That's not the town's fault.
Well, who put it in there?
Who put the curb stop in?
No, who put the pipe in there?
That's part of the curb stop.
No,
That's
no,
part up to
from the
the-
curb stop to the house is the piece of pipe that Ted's talking about.
Right, but
And we
that's
don't
not
know who
ours.
put that in
Right.
years ago.
But that's
It
not
could have
the
been the water
town.
department, it could have been a 3 operator ago, it could have been 40 years ago, we don't know. Long before Bob moved in and long
That
before.
is correct.
You know, one of my concerns is that that isn't the right pipe to be in there, and that's not your fault. I mean, I'm assuming you bought the house after the water line was put in. But apparently there was an error. I've been told that is not the only place we have soldered pipe, that there's a lot of it, and there was an error where a lot of that was put in.
But my contention still is that if it hadn't been hit so violently, it would still be in working condition.
You're saying that the curb box being hit moved the curb stop, which
I'm
in
saying
turn,
that,
The wrench,
what's
wrench
the-
sleeve.
The wrench sleeve got bent, driven down into the curb stop, bent the horizontal pipe,
Which could have
broke the solder,
compromised.
stressed the
Stretched the solder joint that shouldn't have been there in the first place.
and if it hadn't been, if that hadn't happened, then we wouldn't be here tonight.
And the wrench sleeve was so badly bent that a wrench could not be slid down inside of it to activate the valve.
And
There-
the cap,
there-
Cale had
It
to
was-
take the bucket and whack it, or
Yeah.
whack it to straighten it out enough to get the wrench down
I'll
in there.
guarantee you there are dozens of those in town like that. There have been a number of times we go to work on water and go to shut it off and it's bent and we have to dig up the curb box and change it.
The other part of it is that the whole top of the wrench sleeve was busted off and the cap was missing. What do you think did that?
I don't know, I saw caps missing off of the new ones we just put on North Street.
I think they're related.
is there any
I
responsibility
think that a
there
piece of
for not
equipment whacked the top of the
disappearing?
curb
Somebody's-
stop
Scrap.
drove it down in the ground and broke the top off it. The cap wasn't even around until backfilling was done, and then it was under.
It appeared.
Oh, here it is.
I just know, all I'm saying is from my experience, it's not uncommon for them to get bent or to not be able to get a wrench in.
Particularly when they're locked on the top, which Bob didn't do.
Would the board, is there any, maybe sharing this cost, Bob?
I mean, I would just like to see the town take some responsibility for it.
I'm realizing
not looking
that
for the-
you got a piece of copper that wasn't the right one, put in, could have been by, in the 50s or 40s, by maybe a water department or not. I don't think there's anybody in here that knows.
Well, even if
for
it's a subcontractor that did it, the town is still responsible.
What? No, I
I'm not
disagree.
sure about that.
I disagree. I mean, it'd be no different than me buying a house with a well in it and then putting the wrong pipe into the well. I mean, I wouldn't know that when I bought the house. If it failed, it's on me. I mean, it's not your fault because you
But
didn't
it's
put the pipe in there,
But the
but.
well isn't the town water system.
That's right.
That's a whole
To me, that
different-
doesn't matter though. It's this,
Well,
the
We're trying to
philosophy is
figure
the
out who put
same.
that piece of copper in, put the wrong one in. Some went
Well,
out
I think they're saying it might not have been the wrong one at the time.
No,
Maybe that might have
it
been
may
what
have
they.
been common practice at the time.
Right,
not-
that's what I'm saying.
Still not appropriate, but common practice
right.
at the time.
But to me, it just all goes back to the pipe was compromised by,
We
you know,
believe.
I mean, the pipe was compromised.
If the pipe was
The pipe
compromised
was
at the top.
compromised.
Do we know for sure
I
that?
believe
None of
that,
us were in the ground to see it. I agree with you.
that it wasn't installed with that angle
No,
coming from
no,
the
it's
curb
not.
stop. So the curb stop was driven down to bend the pipe.
Yes.
I don't know whether that's true or not. I mean, to me, when you hit a pipe, you hit a pipe from one end to the other. It's not necessarily gonna push it down, it's gonna bend it where the weakest point is. But, I still don't know, but if we start doing this here, we're gonna set a precedent and you're gonna have every Tom, Dick, and Harry in here for any little thing that happens. It's gonna
I
be
think we
water.
can discriminate.
I think you're wrong.
I think we can call it as we see it. And the way I see
So
this,
what do you do about Pine Street? Because Si said that is exactly the same situation, that the homeowner's already paid for.
don't do it again.
No, I think
It's,
wrong.
that's water over the dam.
Yeah.
No, I think you have to be consistent. I mean, this has always been our policy. If it's been from the curb stop to the house, it's the homeowner's responsibility.
It doesn't matter who causes the damage.
Yeah.
You'd have to prove that, and we can't really prove
Well,
that. We don't know.
how do you think that got bent? How do you think it got broken?
Easy, come on.
But I'm just saying, how do you know that it was a town? How do you know it wasn't some car that went by and hit it? I don't know that, and I can't prove that. And I can't prove it didn't happen either. I mean, I'm not saying it's Bob's fault at all, because he bought the house in that condition, and the way it was installed, but
I will bet you $100,000 that digging the swale out, the guy whacked it with the back of a bucket and drove the curb stop down. I don't see any other way that that thing could get bent in the ground like that, so badly that you could not run the wrench down the inside of the tube. And the top of it broken off.
what was the issue we had with the previous stand with the curb stop?
That was a cross.
It wasn't
Yeah.
the same.
And it was a curb stop that was out in the middle of the road.
In the middle of the parking lot.
Middle of the parking lot, and the contractor pulled it out.
Oh, it wasn't the same one that...
Okay, so I just would like to, for the sake of, and just so I know everybody that I'm talking to here,
Yep.
Peter Coffey.
Peter Coffey.
Michelle Perlin.
Peaker Heffernan.
Joel Bouvier. Whoops, sorry.
Val. Okay. All right, well, I mean, we can beat this up for hours, so, I mean, I think I'll let you guys figure out what, and let me know.
I've got a particular problem with the way this is being handled, because it wasn't that long ago, I was in your seat. And I hated every single minute of the way it was handled, and I hate this. The difference is that I ended up paying 5 times what your bill is. And I'm still not done. So I've really got an issue.
Okay, well, just one other side note, with the fancy new swale that the town put in a few years back, it's washed out again, and the new curb stop is very much exposed all over again. I put a big stake with a big flag next to it, just so
And a chair.
I don't have to do this all over again. So just as a note.
Okay. Well, our road foreman is sitting in the back, so I think he will probably take a peek at that tomorrow or the next day.
All right.
Okay.
All right, thank you for
Bob,
your time.
coming in.
I do have some,
Oh, yeah.
I do have some flags.
I didn't need them because I was
I have some
Okay, Meredith.
sand and gravel the way the water runs. I have some flags.
Hot seat. Alright, so I'm here to ask permission to possibly look into the Coffin Trail as a Halloween.
I know, I
tour.
came to the house at 8.
So I made a quick little
You had it all set up.
everybody likes slideshows. Jig, yeah.
Ooh, thanks, Jim. You'll like that.
Yeah, warn us when you turn them back on, please.
It's coming.
Okay, well it's warming up. So Porter just finished the Coffin Trail, made the connection all the way to the fire department, which is pretty cool. Sorry, I just want to reboot that. And we went hiking down there today, and we took a look, and we saw that it would be a great spot to do like the Huntington Town Forest did way back in the day before it got really big, was to do a tour around Halloween for ages, 3 to 10. Just kind of walking down there, I did have some safety concerns because the grade of the sidewalk is like 9. But I would take into consideration safety. You can see some of the features, which would be really cool to kind of have maybe somebody hiding in or standing upon there and talking about. There's 2 fire pits down there that are there already. So that may be something that somebody could tell a scary ghost story. So I have concerns of safety, lighting, obviously variable surfaces, and the traffic up and down that road during that time.
Are you thinking about doing this at night?
Dusk. It depends on, and also the historical preservation.
So the fire pits are something that are not currently being used.
They're down there, yeah, it's down there. So obviously, trail safety, down trees, which is all over the place, fire pit, and then no disturbance of the historical structure, so no moving rocks, anything like that. This is just kind of like a thought. I wanted to get your permission so I can move forward and see if this is something that we can pull off. It would definitely be, the date would work around either the 26th of October or on Halloween and create, Bristol as a town of spookiness, because you have your trunk or treat, maybe you have this little tour, but it's something that would be pretty neat. See if we can make it happen. Ask for volunteers through Front Porch Forum, Facebook, and
Were you thinking of going from the coffin all the way up to the firehouse, or you're just keeping it
Just that
contained to
loop.
that little area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the safest thing to do. And plus, we're kind of going towards children, 3 to 10, 12-year-olds. So safety is walking.
Is there any thought of doing it, the loop that goes behind the high school down around the dump? Because I'm just thinking that parents can meet at the high school parking lot and go.
Yeah, so
Instead of going down this-
that could be an option. Also, Melanie mentioned maybe there's the firehouse loop, and that's great parking there and it's flat. But I'm thinking about something. I think this town could pull it off.
I think as far as spookiness is concerned, that
This is the
This is
scary.
probably-
this is the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who remembers the maze that we used to have upstairs here. I remember the maze up here, yeah.
I heard it was great.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, one on Flake Road and somebody's
I
house.
don't know where those panels went, but they were, in order to create a maze, we set panels up
Yeah.
and,
I heard it was really scary.
It was.
Really well done.
yeah.
But I mean, I'm just trying to gather ideas, do something. If it doesn't, maybe we do like something small scale for the first year and see how that is, work out the kinks.
People will come, like Joel said, I used to do it in my basement, and towards the end, we were putting
Oh, yeah.
a couple hundred people through there. I mean, it was, and you know, as the years progressed, people got used to working it, and people were asking to work it, so we had people everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was a great time. And it wasn't just for the, you know, it wasn't just for the kids. The adults had as much fun as the kids did.
The maze was the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's great. My only concern is as it gets dark, the
Yeah.
footing.
People-
So that people maybe let's keep them low just for, so you
Yeah.
can see,
I
but,
think my biggest concern is gonna be parking.
well.
Yeah, my
they're
thought
gonna-
was to
Depending
start
on
here
where you
at the
are.
Holly Hall, so you have to come to the Holly Hall, and then you're grouped into your tour
Mhm.
and then sent out.
Yeah,
But I mean,
you could even
The-
have stuff going down through here, but I mean, there's a lot of good spots
Kind
for
of
this
mitigates
that wall.
the trunk or treat, because we're gonna need the parking for that too.
Yeah. It
Well,
might
she
be
doesn't
all
on the,
same
do it on the
people.
26th.
yeah, if I did it on
though.
a different day,
Okay,
that would
okay,
work
yeah.
as
That's
well.
what I was thinking about.
But
If you did on
eventually, it would
Halloween,
be
you
pretty
could
cool to do something all together on Halloween. Of course, I think that would be, we'd have to change the location to either the firehouse or the high school on that. But yeah, that's my presentation.
No.
They, you
That's a
know,
great idea.
the idea of, I think the idea of having a couple of days, because you're gonna get the people that will come the first day and they're gonna talk about it.
Think some more people will come.
And then either they'll come back with friends or something of that nature. And as far as the trail, they make these little lanterns
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
could set along so that you could set on the ground, they wouldn't light up above, so that they could at least see their footing.
Yeah, it's good.
I think my next person I want to talk to is, you know, the historical society. Obviously, I can't move any of the rocks or stones, but there's a lot of deadfall in there that could be cleaned up to make it a little bit safer. So,
Well, you got a month and a half.
I know. So yeah, so
Something more
even
together
if,
and back.
if we can make it happen, yeah, I'll reach back out to you guys and let you know where we're at. If it's a go, it is awesome. If not, that's all right. We have another Halloween next year, and this would be it does.
It comes every year.
Comes every year. If the weather is bad, we would cancel it because of the, you know, end of October could be icy. You know, so
That was one of the good things about the maze upstairs, was you could run it in any weather.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
So that sounds like a consensus of
Consensus,
support.
yeah.
Cool.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
Support.
get.
Lights are going on.
Lights are going on. Action.
Ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
There's another one coming though.
Yeah. He's a good light man.
We're getting ready for Halloween.
It's the closing time, you know?
Okay, Melanie, you're up.
Melanie, do you know if Electra's expecting to be called in?
I thought that it would just be more of a pain than it was
Okay.
worth. So no.
Okay.
So I wanted to come for 3 reasons. One is I wanted to bring a little bit more information to the select board about the work of the Safe Routes to Schools Task Force, just an awareness of what's been going on and what the plans are, and see if there's any questions. Number 2, make a specific request to do a pop-up neighborhood greenway along Pleasant Street the first week of October. And 3, answer any questions specifically about what the pop-up would look like, how assessment would happen, and what volunteers would be needed to make that happen. So, does that seem like, so, you probably saw that, right? So I think the goal, you know, the task force has been trying to figure out, like, well, like, what's the process of taking neighborhood feedback, and then the work of Locomotion, which consults for free to help cities and towns become more livable and walk and bike friendly, and establish it as like a townwide walk bike plan. Because Valerie was mentioning that if we had a walk bike plan and a set of priorities, then it helps us access more funding for that. And so this was like kind of the first draft. Well, there actually was a first draft, and we brought it back to some partners that are part of the task force. And so this came out of it, but we'd like to expand it to places beyond just the school zone. So including like the crossing where the creamy stand is, some of the places near the high school, and just kind of have a sense of the whole town and what a thorough plan would be. So we could take time during this meeting to, like, I can answer questions about this specific report if we want to. But also I made a specific request that Allegra and the task force came up with short-term actions and responsibilities. And so in order to move that forward, I brought a specific request for like one part of this. And Eric Coda from Public Works, some of these short terms, he said that it's possible that if it's put in the budget, that some of the repainting of the crosswalks could happen without a lot of to-do. It's more like checking in about what the process is and
Well,
answer
you've got on your
questions.
third page there, I guess, you've got that Fitch Avenue. To give our town crew credit though,
Yeah.
you can see the snow on the lawn there, so we haven't painted them yet for the spring.
Oh, yeah. No.
Those do get painted twice a year, correct, Eric? We paint all the crosswalks at least once, and we don't do run like Pleasant and Fitch just before school starts? No?
I mean, we have done it before.
We have done it before in the past.
Depends on the
Availability of the crew and...
the crew and how much paint's left.
But, and there's like very specific, if you look on page, I don't think unfortunately that the pages are numbered, but I really like this page, that's my favorite page, that challenges and opportunities for just kind of like nailing down the school zone. I mean, if you drive into Bristol, it doesn't pop into your face like you're entering a town and this is a main crossing and the elementary school is here and the high school is here and this is a place where families are walking. I mean, just not yesterday, it was a week ago, one of my neighbors sent out a text to all the neighbors. I live on Maple Street and there's like 8 families, like right within 10 houses, that she had called the police department because there was someone speeding on Pleasant Street. And there are a lot of kids that use that street for practicing biking and walking. And so if we had a Greenway in Bristol, I think parents would become more aware that, oh yeah, that's the street that is the safest for my kids to be walking and biking. I would certainly let my kids out without supervision if I felt like things were better marked and the crosswalks were better marked and like motorists knew when you came into town that this is set aside. So.
What about reinstituting crossing guards?
Well, so in the task force, that's come up a lot as a priority because specifically that crossing on North Street is like the main east-west connection. Is it east-west? Yes, it's east-west. That if anything, just getting that crosswalk to be safer. Right now, there's no specific, like we've been going between the principal and the police department and the school, and it's hard to figure out where the funding comes from. We've looked at other models in other towns about how we could get a crossing guard there, but right now there hasn't been any decision made about that. But in the PowerPoint, there's examples of there's lots of ways to make that crossing much more visible, whether it be, and you can see in the recommendations, like an overhead blinking crosswalk, right? There's 3D crosswalks that only cost more paint. It's just a different way of painting it.
Can you do that, Eric?
Not a chance.
Did you check it?
Oh yeah, they're not even legal in the States.
All right.
They're using them in different countries, but the United States has not accepted them as of
legal.
yet as the thing, and that they are a really time-consuming, not only the paint, but time-consuming painting them.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, they're awesome, but yeah. Oh, I thought you were raising your hand, but you're the camera. So I don't know if this is the correct select board meeting to specifically go over all the recommendations, or if the select board would be the decision-making group, because Eric and Chief Nason and Valerie are all part of the task force, and so we've been kind of having these conversations in the task force. But I did feel like if we wanted to test out, you know, my specific request today was installing a temporary neighborhood greenway along Pleasant Street, and the PowerPoint describes what that would look like during walk to school day. And that way, locomotion would help the town, like, do an assessment. You know, what do people think of it? How did it slow down traffic? Did it make things safer? So that if we decided in the future that there was a grant and we wanted to move forward in branding Pleasant Street as an east-west throughway between the two schools, then we would have data to back up our grant. So I could show you a little more information about what the pop-up experience looked like. I have a PowerPoint.
I'm curious about that.
How long is the presentation?
I could do it in probably 8 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Well, she's setting that up, Melanie.
It's set up, but.
Okay, all right. You're talking about Pine Street and putting these lanes in. I walk on Pine Street every day and it is not wide enough to do that. No way.
Pleasant Street.
No, there's
She's got it here in the last one.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think of that, I drive that down, I live on that street.
I wouldn't recommend.
He doesn't even have a sidewalk.
Well, so the place where they put it in is the same. A lot of advisory lanes that have been put in around Vermont are the same size as Pine Street, and it's been proven that it's not saying that now cars, the advisory lanes are not reducing the width of the car driving. It's just kind of like putting it in people's consciousness that you're sharing the road. Because we don't, it looked like when we looked at the medium plan and in task force meetings that putting a sidewalk there was kind of expensive, and there was lots of reasons it hasn't been done yet. And so, right?
You're using that word loosely. Very expensive.
Very expensive. And so looking at
Maybe
different
and very
options
nice.
that are less expensive and
And
still
very
do the
nice.
job of making it safer.
Just making people
It's,
aware. I understand.
yeah, because there are a lot of kids and people that bike and walk down Pine Street. So seeing that, we might as well find ways to make it safer, I think. And the task force thinks as well. So let's see.
Jenny, you have to do this on this one, it's just have this one.
Jimmy, lights?
The light next one.
Lights. How do I move it forward? Sorry.
This is guy.
Okay. So, I mean, we're really lucky that Locomotion has a staff member like Williams who comes for free and helps towns around the state figure out bike walk plans, and then works with the city to, number one, like look for funding, but also come up with, you know, a list of solutions, and can help like kind of rank, like here's 5 solutions and here's how much they cost. And I mean, I think that's really cool, because sometimes we just don't know, right? Like, what is a good pedestrian or bike option to make streets safer? So, I think that that's kind of a lot.
Wait a minute. Yeah, so
I just use my,
this is the button.
okay.
That's all you gotta
Okay.
do.
All right. My technology skills are sometimes lacking. So that just says that Locomotion does a lot of things. Like, for instance, we did a bike rodeo as part of the Safe Routes Task Force, teaching kids bike safety. We bring in the Bike Smart trailer every year. We didn't do it last year, but the year before, and this coming year, into the schools so that kids learn to walk and to bike safely. The rec department did a Learn to Ride workshop this year to teach kids how to bike and teach parents how to teach their kids to bike. And so the idea is that it's, you know, education, enforcement, encouragement, and engineering helps change the behavior, so that you're not telling people to bike and it's unsafe, but you're not also changing infrastructure and not teaching families and kids to use the infrastructure safely. And, you know, Safe Routes to Schools is a national organization with federal funding because using those 4 strategies has been seen as a successful way to change behavior around the country and around the world. In England, they use it as well. So it's just, you know, improving street design. Obviously, there's lots of ways to design streets, and there's lots of new ways to design streets coming from Europe and other places where they prioritize walking and biking more. And I think it's important for towns to look at new models. And the task force, that's what we're looking at as well. Yeah, so this is a really, you know, that's like big thinking. But I think the Safe Routes and the task force really looks at, well, we have a village and we have a town and, you know, intersections as where people meet. And so if it's not safe for people to be walking and kids to be using the streets, then our neighbors know each other less, and our town becomes like, you know, less of a lovely place to live, versus as we meet and intersect with each other, then our town becomes a nicer place to live and increases the value of our homes, etc., etc. Yeah, so that's a really good example. I love that Church Street, which is now like a huge tourist attraction, just started out as a one-day pop-up in 1970, and now it's shut off to cars permanently. It's amazing that even in Vermont, when it's really cold, people are pedestrianizing it. Made a board. Okay. So these are just, you know, shots. So yeah, in order to kind of help people open up their imagination about what's possible, Locomotion has a pop-up trailer, which means that towns can bring up the pop-up trailer, volunteers set up greenways, and then people can decide if they like it, and there can be more of a experiential discussion about, oh yeah, that worked, that kind of blocked cars too much, that wasn't really what we were looking for, can we make it more beautiful, or does it want to be artistic, or blah blah blah. There's lots of ways that you can experience it and then ask questions from there. It's really cool. In Rutland, their whole school zone was actually designed, installed, and assessed by school children. So, Locomotion sets up about 12 different demonstrations around the state a year. And I think it's also a really good way for Bristol to continue getting positive press around being a walking, biking friendly town. So they help with data collection, design, installation, outreach. Which we'll have to inform the public about it. Locomotion will help with all the wording. They'll make the flyers for us, etc., etc. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is like the pop-up that you're talking on Pleasant Street, to have something to block off part of the roads for a bike?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, I actually almost hit a 4-year-old the other day biking because I was reversing out of my driveway, and when you teach kids to bike on the sidewalk, it's really not the safest, because they actually, if you look at research, a lot of kids get hit on sidewalks because they bike in the opposite way. So if cars are reversing, people are looking out their window where, you know, cars are coming, versus for a scooter or a biker that's coming down. So it's much safer to have dedicated places for kids and anybody to bike. And I think also with all the bike tours that come through, it would be better to direct the bike tours off of 116 and down Pleasant Street to get through Bristol, I think. And that's easy to mark once the Greenway is set up. So, I mean, these are just creative ideas. There's tons of ways to block it off. So there's also a lot of creative ways. That's temporary. They painted that in. You can wash it off. But for instance, how do you make that crosswalk on Pleasant and North Street more visible? I mean, you can bring out the curb extensions, and kids shouldn't be scared. Like, I'm actually shocked that it's not safer, because it's really hard to cross. And all those kids that are trying to walk from the village center to the elementary school, like, it's just, there's no way to slow traffic down. They're not looking for kids at all. So that's actually a 3D crosswalk that's just painted. So that's obviously, what?
That's great.
Yeah. And it's just paint instead of like, so it's not legal. But it's awesome. Right? Come on.
Come on, you can do it.
Let's go back for fine arts. But anyway, there's lots of options. You know, the one that's usually used for making it is the hanging, blinking pedestrian light where someone presses a button. You know, and there's also lights along the bottom of the crosswalk that blink yellow. There's no way you can't see that when you're driving, and kids should feel like the cars are going to stop for them. You know, that's another example that when you put in a neighborhood greenway, first of all, it increases the beauty. Like you can do art, you can do beautiful perennials and flowers in the middle of a roundabout. Specifically, I know for the Pleasant Street Greenway, we thought a good spot for a roundabout would be on, God, I always forget the name of the, I think it's Munsell, because there's been a lot of complaints of people speeding down to Mountain Health Center because they kind of like go down 116 and then shoot down to all the businesses at Marble Street Works and don't realize that they're actually like driving through the center of a town. And so if there was a roundabout there, people just whip through that stop sign, not all the time, but I think that would be a good spot to position a roundabout because it becomes a throughway.
Are you talking about Munsell and
Corner of Munsell
Pines?
and West Pleasant.
Or West, okay,
West Pleasant and Munsell.
West Pleasant and Munsell, yeah. Because the other roads, like the one near the hardware store, is at Liberty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really go that many, but Munsell is the one that connects down to the more business area. So that's one that a kid did. But you can see, I mean, that was a crosswalk and now it's much safer. You can obviously see that people want to walk across there. And it slowed cars down because it narrowed the spots where they could drive. And especially like maybe just around some of our festivals, like the Human Powered Parade or Halloween when there's lots of pedestrians, maybe there's some artistic things that could happen, but this is just examples.
Melanie, I'm going to ask you to kind of
Okay,
bring
there
it
we
to a
go.
conclusion here.
Okay, so that's a neighborhood greenway in Burlington. You can see they're called sparrows when they mark the bike lanes with larger arrows and stencils. There's another example. That's it. Come to a close.
You was.
It's good. So, I guess my big request would be specifically about a pop-up trailer during the week before International Walk to School Day on Pleasant Street. If the select board said okay, then we would start to advertise what a pop-up is. We'd advertise in the schools, both schools, and then around town and Front Porch Forum, informing people that it would be happening, getting volunteers to set it up, and then obviously sharing the data that we collect back to the town. I don't think it could
And I
hurt.
think we need to know what the actual pop-up's gonna be before we can say yes or no, you know.
I mean, looking at the pictures you showed, there's some kind of an object all the way down through there, and I believe on Pleasant Street, if you do that, two cars can't pass.
Gotta be able to fit through there.
Not enough room there to put
No.
half cars.
And, I mean, if you have a painted line, that's one thing, 'cause you
Yeah.
could, but I think if you've got cones or the fancy white things that are in there, two cars are not going to be able to pass, I don't believe.
And I don't think you know, to get your data, you wouldn't want cars to not go through there that would normally go through there.
No, you don't want to block off traffic.
Well,
at
no,
all.
I'm just saying, if you tell
Yeah.
people, oh, we're gonna do this pop-up on Pleasant Street, people are gonna say, oh, I'm not going that way, and then you're not gonna get your data.
So do you think that the next step in terms of getting the select board to either like, you know, the support would be if Locomotion came up with like, this is the Greenway, like this is exactly what it would look like between this block and this block, we'll put in like this bike lane, this is where the roundabout, this is where the crosswalk would be, that would be.
You mean paid for the day or something of that
It's
nature,
for
so.
a week or two.
Yeah.
So maybe photographs with those elements doctored into those photos. We could see the
So you're-
context.
Yeah.
With a scale,
You're
What
looking
do you mean
at,
with the scale?
So
so
it's
that you
kind
know
of to
how,
scale.
yeah.
well, I'd like, So you're looking at a 5 foot bike lane, or green space as you call it, from the curb out, what's the distance of that?
3 feet? I think 3 to 5 feet. I have to look it up. It's
Yeah,
in
well,
the report.
that's significantly different. I mean, 3 and 5 is.
2
yeah,
feet's a lot.
It is a lot, yeah.
Well, I also think that if that's a concern, because it says that most official bike lanes, like for instance, are 4 to 6 feet.
Right.
But because the Greenway is to assess what it would look like, then maybe what we could ask Allegra to do is that on one block, we could paint like a 2 foot or 3 foot bike lane, and on another part of the Greenway, we could make it wider and see how it affects people's like observations of how it affects the traffic flow. I don't know, that seems like that might answer
How
the
does
question.
how does this work as far as direction of travel?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's only 3 feet, 2 bikes aren't gonna be able to pass going opposite directions.
That was my next question.
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
If I'm going east and you're going west and we only have 3 feet.
I think they want one on both sides of the
They want
street.
one on both sides.
Both
You have them on both sides of the street?
You can. I mean, so listen, when you're, for instance, like when you're going down Burlington, right? There's one street, like if there was one street in Bristol where it's like, it becomes more beautiful, right? You have some more trees, you have some more greenery. People are knowing that you see more people with their kids biking on that road, walking on that road, people feeling more comfortable having their kids walk to school. I think that it's worth it. So obviously you have to get the okay from people that live along Pleasant Street. But if people want to go fast in town, then go on another street. But at least we have.
No, don't do on the other street.
No, I'm not saying don't ever drive down Pleasant Street. I'm just saying that now that becomes like the neighborhood Greenway. You know, it's the walk bike route between the two schools, and the whole town is looking after like. We want our kids to feel safe at least on one road in Bristol, and to experiment with what that looks like. And maybe we say, hey, you know what? It's not worth it because it slows down traffic too much and it's too much of a pain in the ass. But at least we've
And I don't
installed
think
it and
you're,
tried
Melanie, I
it.
really personally don't think you're giving the people in this village and town enough credit to say, I don't remember a person getting hit on a bike or killed on a bike except my aunt right up here on the corner going to church on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have that many because our police are out. Do they get every stop sign? No. Do they get every speeder? No. But to say that they speed down the street, Pine Street, yeah, they can go. I live on that street, and that's a cut. I took a little thing when he says not a very busy street. Come on over it.
Saturday morning.
Saturday mornings,
I know,
or come over
don't
at
friend.
come over at 4 to 6 at night.
Yeah.
And 4 to 6 at night, they all cut through coming up.
To avoid
Stony-
the light.
Avoid the light, going up there. And it's a busy street.
And people are very much aware of the crosswalk on North Street with the kids.
Yes.
I don't think I find too many people who don't
I
stop.
mean,
for
the
this
orange
crosswalk.
barrels out there and stuff, and the signs.
I'm not saying it's not safe.
I'm not saying we could do more.
Right,
I'm not saying
that's all I'm
we
saying.
can do more.
Yeah,
I agree
that's
with
all.
that.
Yes.
But
And
I think we need something to show us what you're going to do in order for us to really say, yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so,
It's
well, go ahead.
gonna be just a bike path, because we already have the sidewalk for the walkers.
Yeah.
And we can make the intersections, we can do something to make the intersections safer. That I'm all in favor of. So we're making a special lane just for the bikes. But you say bike and walk, so are we gonna have walkers in the road?
In Burlington and some neighborhood greenways, it kind of extends an invitation for more people to like walk. Just like imagine the street as a place for people and bikers and intersecting, and just kind of like, oh yeah, this is the street where neighbors can play, and it's slower because it connects the two schools. And I'm not saying that people in Bristol are like crazy and running, you know, that's not at all the impression. It's that it gives Bristol a chance to be a model in the state, to say that Bristol is a place where livability is prioritized, and that we have a plan that prioritizes livability, that brands our school zones to be safe, that encourages active walking and biking, like what the rec department is doing, you know, in terms of these nice walks around town that we're like kind of branding Bristol as that kind of town. And I think that's a really valuable thing to do for Bristol, and that the task force is working on coming up with a plan for that. So to try something out, because it's not really gonna cost the town any money, and it brings visibility to the attempt to do that and opens up the conversation of what is livability? Why is it important to make our streets more visible for walking and biking? I think that conversation is important, and I don't see that specifically with the pop-up, because you know this presentation wasn't like to ask for funding to install any of these yet, but with the pop-up it's just for visibility and to start to have that dialogue. And so what I would say is that the task force can come back together with locomotion and outline specifically what would be installed during those 2 weeks and what the assessment plan would be, and then bring it back to the select board so that everybody could hear, and then would that seem like a good
I
next
think
step?
we definitely need more information.
Well, and who would pay for
What
the
you'd like to
pop-up? Because I was reading there that each pop-up is $200 to $300. There was a.
Well,
thing
when I
about
talked
the $200
to talked to Allegra, it was specifically if they could drop it off, but we have a truck that can pick up the pop-up trailer. It's to pay for their gas and the person to drive it. But we picked up the trailer a trailer before. You just need the hitch and a large pickup truck. So she said as long as we could pick up the trailer, then it wouldn't be a big deal. And then Allegra would come and help facilitate, she would help facilitate the volunteer effort to install it and take it down. So.
Yeah, I guess I would agree with Pete. A white line on the road, I can see that slowing traffic down and helping, but if we go and put stuff up through the road, I don't think you're gonna get fair feedback. I don't think your feedback is gonna be as positive as it would if it was a line saying, you know, this area is where the bikes are gonna be.
Well, do you think it would be worth seeing what the feedback would be? You know, like, it could be bad feedback and people would be like, hey, it's safe enough, like we don't need to make all these changes. Or people could be like, oh wow, this really like makes me feel like I'm grounded in a safer neighborhood. And then we'd be like, sweet, you know, more families are gonna buy houses and move into Bristol, which they already are doing. And that's a really wonderful thing, so.
I was just wondering whether the white line painted down or just some cones.
Well, the cones you can't cross with a vehicle.
Right.
That's I agree with Peter's concern that if you go and you narrow that street right up and you get two cars that meet, what do you do?
So there's already a problem when you have cars parked there. People sometimes park on the side of the road, and you have two cars, you gotta wait. One car at a time, so.
So I have a.
Why don't you guys get together
Yeah.
and bring us your.
Something.
Yeah, some more ideas. You got a kind of the big picture tonight. Narrow it down, what you'd
Okay.
like to do for those week or two in October.
Yeah.
When on the Safe Route to School week and.
International Walk to School.
International Walk to School. And maybe there's some grant money for those, as you said, those flashing, because we are going to put two of those on Main Street next year during the lighting when we redo Main Street. So.
The next select board meeting is September 2nd, and then the one after that is September 16th.
So, and I would probably invite Allegra to come in since she has, that's her expertise, that she can answer the questions about how does this affect traffic. I mean, that's her job.
Well,
And
can you
so-
guys have it together in 2 weeks, or do you need?
No, we can have it together in 2 weeks. Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. Well, thank you for taking the time to listen.
All right, thank you. Okay. Regular business. 70 Devon Lane, possible violation of a right-of-way permit specifications. And I think Wayne's here. Gets up there. Come on.
How do you like your first name pronounced?
Rainey?
Rainey?
Rainey.
There was, I guess, some concerns digging in the right-of-way that it wasn't to the specs of compaction in the ditch. And I checked it the other day, I don't see any sinking yet, but I guess it's possible they could settle over the winter. And if Eric, if you'd like to chime in, you feel free. So, So, if the board's concerned, I don't think it has been paved yet because we're wanting to settle this, right? It's that way. You had 30 days and it's been over 30 days, but this has been in the works of discussion of whether it can get packed, correct?
That and simply by leaving it open, truck traffic and the rain's gonna really ensure that it's packed good and hard before, it's paved. So it's like an extra insurance policy, basically.
Okay. Of course, if it sinks through the winter and the pavement gets like this, you'd have to come back because you have a year. We have a year to redeem it.
Right.
So.
And I figured as much.
Okay. So. Any thoughts on that, you guys?
Well, I have to say, as hard as it's rained 3 or 4 times, that has not settled much. There've been some potholes in it, but it hasn't really settled much. But I think we need to move forward to get that paved, and if it doesn't hold up, in the spring you'll be responsible to do it again, and dig it up and compact it.
What I'd like to see a motion is that we don't have him dig it back up, weighing it, and then recompact it every 6 to 8 inches or 12 inches, what the permit says. But from the date, let's say you pave it September 2nd, Tuesday, September 2nd, we're just gonna pick a date. From that date pavement, if it sinks again, you've got to come back and dig it out and pave it.
Within a year.
Within the year of the pavement, not the year of the digging. Right here. That's what I'm just starting to say. It was July, sometime the end of July you dug it, right?
Yes.
Right. So
What I would propose is, if for some reason it settles, to come back and top coat it, which is what is standard throughout the town. If there's a pothole or settling.
I would like to reserve that to our town public works director for that.
Because if I top coat it, if I had to add more and top coat it, really I'm just adding a thicker layer of asphalt. That's only going to make it stronger. And certainly,
if it's like this, it may be an inch in the middle, but a quarter of an inch on the ends. And if it's cut and paved, if it's pulled out next year and cut and paved, and 2-inch lift and then a 1-inch lift, and then I think it would be better than
what you're suggesting. I don't think is likely to happen, simply because the trench was only as wide as the bucket. Right. So it's not like it was a 6-foot or 8-foot wide trench where you're going to have a big distance work to dip like that. It's probably going to settle evenly if it does settle.
Okay. So if it's as wide as a bucket, was there no trench used when you?
No trench box was used.
How come? Isn't that a state requirement, Vermont state statute? Or OSHA requirement?
It's an OSHA requirement for a employee. Him as an owner, he can make the conscious decision to get into the ditch. If the ditch caves on him, it was a bad decision. It was a bad decision on his part. If I'm working for him and he tells me to get into the ditch, and the ditch caves on me because there's not a tension box in there, then he's liable.
Okay.
There is no liability beyond. If he's the contractor and he's doing the work, as far as OSHA goes, OSHA and OSHA, there's no liability beyond that. And I know that was your concern, Joel, that we could possibly be liable if somebody got in there without a box.
Working in our municipality right away, yes. Right.
And VOSHA and OSHA are very clear as far as who is liable for what in that instance. Yeah. If Cy were to get down in the ditch and it caved, that would be our problem.
Right.
And I didn't let anybody else in the ditch. I was the only one in there.
I know I've played that card before, so I understand that portion of it.
And I did compact. I compact with a jumping jack. So
yeah, but I understand you put 4 feet in first to get it up to your waist, and then you start compacting.
To avoid a cave-in on myself.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Because I didn't want to get buried compacting. Because when you're compacting, you got that jumping jack going, it's shaking everything. Right. And the banks start caving in. And plus, if it started caving in, it would undermine the asphalt, which is even more room that has to be repaired. So I did the best fix.
You didn't have a jumping jack on the end of your machine, correct?
No.
I would have been perfectly fine with that, a jumping jack on the end of your machine.
Well, it still probably would have caved in under the pavement. And then I would have had to cut the pavement back, and it was getting late in the day as it was. And it's just what I did was the best fix for the situation. But I did pack it. It seems to have stood up pretty well.
Can I
Am I allowed to say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just as a neighbor, why can't we just leave it like that for a little while longer and pave it later? So it might not. I mean, it's been packing great so far. Is there a rush to get it paved? Wouldn't it be more feasible wait another month and let more truck traffic pack it down?
It's
So it's less likely to
probably Mother Nature's going to pack it through the winter. It'll settle some through the winter.
Oh, okay, I just.
The frost will go in and then come back out, and then it'll be done. It'll be frost.
Well, we wouldn't want to leave it unpaved.
Oh, no, absolutely not. But I think we put a date by October 1.
Okay.
Maybe
I don't
I'll
know if
leave
it's
it
better
more
for you.
gravel.
Yeah.
If it does.
And just the other thing, it's that, you change all our addresses. That's not 70 Devino. I'm 60 Devino. 70 is Greg Butler, I think. Just for technical purposes.
For here.
Yeah, just, I mean, I don't know what you've got it registered as, but.
Yeah, I have registered as 70.
You're probably
That's
50 or
what my
something.
permit says, 70.
It shouldn't be 70, 'cause I'm 60. And I
Well, you
think.
see, you shouldn't be telling us how old you are, Jerry.
I know you're older than that, Jerry. Jerry, I know you're older than that, okay?
Well, I'm still getting mail from the town as 6 Devino. You guys got it, but anyway.
Okay. We can adjust that. That's not a problem. So,
I'm sorry.
anybody want to?
The post office will adjust that because they're,
Yes.
or
Or
Craig.
Craig with our 911.
He's the one that changed it.
Yeah.
Probably
You wanna-
directed with the state.
Motion to allow up to when people, Baker, you want to think about that, or Peter? By October 1?
Sounds good. I'll make that motion.
So,
When do the plants close?
oh,
No,
no.
November.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I
I'm
just want to
giving
make sure
them
we do it
a lot. Yes.
before that.
And between now and October 1st, you'll fill the potholes in the street.
Yeah, it has to stay,
Gravel.
it has to stay.
Stay within travelable.
Has to stay smooth.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Can you restate that motion, please?
Peter?
That will be paved by October 1st, and in the meantime, all potholes will be kept level.
Okay. Is there a second?
I did.
Ted, second that. Any more consideration? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Now, if worst case scenario, it settles a half an inch through the winter, can I just top coat it with some more hot mix
Again, I will
in the spring?
reserve that. Our road department,
Eric is saying.
Eric is saying no.
Eric is saying no.
Because if you do it half inch in the middle, by the time you taper it out to the ends, you're gonna be an 1/8 inch to a 1/4 inch, and it's gonna peel.
It's gonna depend on what it looks like.
That's what
I was
I
gonna say, we
look
may
at.
have to
Just
wait till
and see.
spring.
It may not do anything, it may be fine.
Maybe fine.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm just worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But if it ends up where you got a belly in it, and it doesn't, like you say, settle evenly, if you got a belly in it, then it's all gonna need to come out.
The pavement.
The pavement, not the gravel, but the pavement.
okay.
Just the pavement.
Just the
No,
pavement.
just the pavement. You'll cut it. If it's not, if it's break up, you'll cut it and just pave it. I believe our policy is
Ours
2
is
inch of
4 inches then.
4 inches, two 2-inch lifts.
2 inches. Okay? No, not the whole gravel. No.
Let's start all over.
Yeah, no, I mean, no. Mother Nature will settle it if she
His heart
needs
just
to
went
this
into
winter.
his throat when you said that.
Okay, you all set then? No? Okay, all right, thank you. All righty. Okay, Eric, you want to come up? Not really? Consider options for repair or replacement of the Department of Public Works International
You're
Durastar
killing me,
dump
Eric.
truck.
Yeah,
This is all the stuff killing me.
You haven't heard, the motor,
Well, according to Clark's, but I'll back up a little bit. Truck 2 needed some repair. The DF system on it wasn't regenerating, and it was blowing black smoke. So I decided to take it up to Clark's and have them service it, see what's going on, and at the same time put the clutch fan in that we already bought during the winter. We thought we'd have time to put it in ourselves, but we didn't, so I had them do that. And in the meeting of their tests that they did find a broken wire and a sensor that was gone for the DF system. They replaced them, repaired them, and then it still came back as a fault, so it came back as, what did Parker say, a breached system.
What's a DF?
Diesel something particulate. It's burns off excess gas, so it's not as polluted to the air.
And this is pre-DEF fluid, so
it's just internal.
Basically what it does is it dumps raw diesel fuel into the exhaust system and creates, 1500 degrees or whatever to burn the soot off so that you don't get it into the air.
And that wasn't working. That's why we're getting the black smoke, we figured. And so we wanted to get that fixed. Because it did it all winter long, just about. So in their tests and stuff, when the system is breached, International requires the dealer to do a bunch of tests to try to figure out why it was breached. And with their tests, they came back with results that 2 of the cylinders in the motor are low compression.
4 and 8.
To be honest with you, it does. I didn't get the report, so I don't know what cylinders it was.
And that's not a max force 10 in there.
No, I was misquoted. I was the max force 7 that's in it. I thought it was a 10, and when I read the paperwork today, it said, because I got the repair slips, I read them today, and it was max force 7, so I was wrong on that. So as of right now, the truck, we went and got the truck, brought it back. It did still blow black smoke, but I don't drive it that often. So when I drove it back, it didn't seem too bad to me. As far as driving wise, I mean
power wise.
Huh?
Power wise.
Power wise, it didn't seem too bad, but I don't drive it that often, so I don't know what it had before, and I don't know now. You know, Caleb could tell you better about it because he's the one that had it when it was brand new. As far as power wise goes, I don't drive it that often, so. So I got the estimates from Clark's. They did a running engine, a long block, and a short block. I got, just for information, a new truck quoted from International, 4-wheel drive, same size as our Freightliner that we have. The same exact truck that I have from Freightliner now, Sandy quoted for the same truck. And then a used truck from International and a used truck from Charlie Boys. That's in you guys' packet there. Just for information.
I didn't make copies of them.
Oh, you didn't make copies?
No.
So,
okay.
we bought that new in 2013, was it new?
2012.
2012, well, it's a 2013, but we bought it in 2012.
That
So in 6 years,
engine is junk.
Yeah, they tell you.
They get 30.
That's why International's in
The
a lawsuit.
mechanic I talked to said they've gone with as little as 30,000 miles on. What happens is the way this exhaust system works, it dumps fuel into cylinder number 4 and number 8, and the raw fuel in there, which washes the cylinders, gets rid of the lubrication on them, and then it takes out the rings. That's why there's low compression.
so there's really no fix.
There is no fix other than
Replace a new motor or.
and those are remanufactured numbers you got?
Yes.
So the issue with the mechanic I talked to is that he doesn't know if anybody will warranty that engine for any length of time.
If you do the complete motor, what they call the trim run motor,
Yeah, it's in there.
which
2
is
years?
Yeah, it's a 2-year warranty on that. Which, let's see which one is this. Which is this one here. Which is what they call the trim run motor. That has the 2-year warranty on the motor.
And that's 25,000?
Almost 30.
30,000.
Almost 30.
By the time that you're done.
And this truck isn't ready to,
It's got
2022, right?
Yeah, 3 to 4 more years, something like that.
Well, the issue I see is that we don't have any money for 2 years.
Right.
We depleted the funds for the grader, and next year's funds go to the grader. So the engine assembly complete, removal and reinstall. The engine numbers I got, that he's got to take a closer look at it, but the engine numbers I got were roughly around $7,000 for that same engine. And have a little bit over 10 in it by the time you got it changed.
And the other thing-
And then the exhaust was another, if you have to replace the whole thing, was another 4,000 or 5,000 plus.
They got 3 here to well, if you got, no, it'd be 4.
So,
Yeah, 4,000 for
And
them
then
to
the
do
time
it.
to do that. He said, without looking at it, he would say it would be under 20.
For him to do it.
so, okay, for,
But that's not knowing the availability of that engine. He
Is
said
there-
he wouldn't put that engine in if he couldn't find somebody who would rebuild it and sell it to him with a 2-year warranty. He said he would.
can you get a different motor to fit that truck, or you can only go that one?
It's that one.
That one, I did ask about that, about putting a Cummins in it. Parker said that, I gotta remember, the state was gonna have one done. No, I take that back. They were looking for a guinea pig. They do the buses now, they converted the Maxes into, they made a kit to convert the Max Force motors out of the buses and put Cummins in them. They need a guinea pig truck, like this one, to go to Ohio so they can make the plates, the adapter and everything to make a kit for it.
And then do it for free for us?
Oh, no. It's gonna be
We're guinea pigs,
six,
come on.
that's what Parker's trying to say. 6 to 8 weeks for them to manufacture the parts and 60 grand.
You might go buy
For
a
that.
truck.
Yeah,
Well,
that's,
the issue is the truck with a motor like that, it isn't worth anything
Yeah, right.
because anybody who buys it has to
that.
do this
Right.
to it.
Right.
It's not like
Right.
Goodrill's had one and they put an engine in at 40,000. It went again at 80. The same truck, and somebody bought it figuring they could fix it, and it's never been back on the road.
right. Parker was trying to get them to do, even if you did it, you know, they did it half cost for a guinea pig truck to go down there, but they won't budge.
Guess they aren't getting ours as a guinea pig.
I guess not. I wouldn't think so either.
So do we wanna, what's your thoughts, people?
I would like to get a firm price from somebody else, or maybe a couple other
Yeah,
vendors,
For which
Yeah.
option?
to put an engine in it.
The new engine.
Yeah, I don't think we can go off our schedule by this.
No,
many
I don't
years.
either.
No, if it were a year,
We don't even have
I'd
the
say,
money,
Eric,
we don't
let's
even
try
have
to
the money
drive
to do
it.
it.
No.
Let's try to run it, huh?
That-
We don't even have the money to do
Right.
it.
No.
No, it was just for information for you guys, that's all.
I think the equipment committee should be doing this and then come back to the board with a recommendation.
Yeah, I can do that. I can get an equipment committee meeting up.
Realizing
We
the
probably should get prices from
First.
a couple of different people first, so that we've got, so that the equipment committee's got something to
Something.
compare.
something to
Right.
compare, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, I would say, probably Charlie Boy, Screen Mountain, Gentworth, and we've had Sean do work for the town before. Need to do something with the loader.
The only thing he may have done for the loader would be the center pins.
You know, he's done engines for me, he's done engines for my brother. He used to do all the service work.
You're gonna get 3 or 4 and guys convene the truck committee,
Okay.
equipment committee and come back.
Yeah, so are you gonna want me to have the truck up to each place or just ask them how much would you charge? Or can you get the motor and all that and how much would it be? Or do you want me to take the truck to each place and have
I
them
guess
do
it's
their
gonna be,
diagnostic and
Depend on
It'd be
what
up
they
to them.
need.
I don't wanna pay to have it diagnosed again. Whoever ends up getting the job will,
Well, if this is a typical problem, and they'll know
Right.
about it.
yeah.
yeah, that's what I was thinking
Yeah.
too, but
Well, that was, when I talked to Sean, that was his first, yeah, he said that's a jump, he says, let me guess, the engine's gone. No compression on 2 cylinders. I said, yep.
So I
So,
talked to Ron at Betcha Transit, head mechanic, and he said, oh yeah, we had some of those, but he says, we got them, they have a 50,000 mile guarantee on them. But so many years, he said, we took ours went before the guarantee on the years was done. He said, you guys are over your years.
Yeah.
It's 5 years or 50,000 miles. And that school bus did something.
Yeah, we're what, 7 years.
He says that's why they went to buying international with 6 cylinders instead of 8s. Get out of that motor.
Next.
Okay. Okay. Now, public works updates, Eric. North Street risers, paving, drywall installation, etc.
Okay, North Street risers, we've tried to put in a couple of risers in them spots. They're not deep enough to put the risers in. The shortest riser they make is 1 inch. And Kale and Jared went out a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks ago, and they tried to put them in, the one down by Billy's, and then another one up by Pine Street, and when they put them in, they stuck above the pavement. And you can't have the riser stick above the pavement for plowing.
Plow trimming.
They will.
Throw them over the ditch.
They will.
So
Conference curb stop.
The only make 1 inch is the lowest they make. If they made a 1/2 inch riser, it would work. You could put them in and you'd bring them up, but they don't make one.
Well, didn't they put the holes in there so something would fit?
Well, yeah, they put the risers in that they had, and then they didn't have enough depth left after they put the first riser in. They didn't have enough depth to put the second riser in to bring it up to grade. Instead of being like 1.5 inches depth, there was 3/4 of an inch deep. So the risers would have stuck above the pavement.
That's
No,
why
but
they
what I'm
didn't
saying
put 'em
isn't
in.
that
That's
pipe,
why they didn't put them in.
but isn't that Pike's fault for not making them correct? For not making.
No, I wouldn't think so. The simple reason is because they paved the road and then they came in actually a little bit above what they estimated for tonnage wise. So they put what they estimated for tonnage on the road. The only difference is the next time that we do this is specify a higher amount of pavement.
So what are the increments that these risers come in? Is it
1
small?
inch, 2 inch, 3 inch.
Okay.
The smallest they go is 1 inch.
So what did they put in, do you know?
They put in some inch ones and some 2 inch ones, depending on the depth of the pavement at where they were.
Can you take out the ones they put in, or is that not possible?
Yeah, you'd have to chisel
Chisel around.
chisel around.
But isn't that what you're gonna have to do?
I
You
would
have to
just
chisel
chisel
it?
around
I
them.
heard you could do with a torch.
You can heat it up with a torch and then chisel around
Yeah.
where the riser is, and if you wanted to pop the riser
Yeah.
out,
But that's not gonna
But
gain
that's
us
not gonna
anything
gain
because they're
anything,
1 inch increments.
they're 1 inch increments.
So I was gonna say, what's the solution for
The
the ones that
other-
are too high?
Are those a cast iron? Can they be cut?
I thought about that. I was gonna go ask Randy and see if he could trim them, cut them down.
Plasma cutter.
Will they still set in there?
That was the other option I didn't know. If you
That
cut
may
them,
be where what you're saying would work, pull them out and.
Yeah, that sounds pretty work intensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the other option too, which I talked to Saya with, is we can coal patch over the shutoffs. Coal patch is a lot easier to dig out when you need to dig them out than it is hot mix. So we could coal patch the deepest ones that that people are thumping with.
I'd like to see a combination of try to get the ones you can rise up. And if it's half and half, at least it's less cold patching.
Sounds like they tried to do the deepest ones and it was too high.
I don't find them as a problem, I just got used to driving down North Street and I know where they are. No, I do.
I'm just thinking of cold patches on the intersections ones. I'm not thinking of the ones on the houses or those. I'm thinking the ones like Pine and North.
They're all main valves, none of them go to houses.
Yeah, they're all main
Yeah.
valves in there anyways, but.
But there's one section, there's 3 of them right there.
Well, Pine Street has got one right with 3 right in a row, right
Yeah.
there. There's 3 right in Pine Street intersection. Rob, where it comes out of the North Street.
3 on.
And
Plank
3
Road.
on
Yeah, there's
Plank
three right at
Road.
the top of Plank Road.
Plank Road has got 3. And Church I think has only got 2. The Church is 2 on the Church.
I guess you don't drive this road very much because,
Don't go that way.
As long as you're going north, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're all on the outside road.
I guess I would like
Out of 10.
size, if, you know, you're gonna, how many are there? 25 of them, you're gonna fill them with patch, and, you know, how long is it gonna take to chip them out if you have to shut the water off? Probably a few minutes, right? Or heat them up with a torch and pop it out? No.
Coal patch, you'd be able to chip right out in probably 5 to 10 minutes.
I think it'd be better than
On the
just,
spring anyway. so.
yeah, probably. Yeah, I think it'd be better than leaving them and hearing the complaints.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before they turn orange.
Or they turn.
They might.
Okay, the paving? How do you know?
Paving, hopefully still gonna pave Knox Road. We're actually moving the excavator up there tomorrow. Oh, and that was the other thing I wanted to ask you guys. I'll get to that.
I was gonna ask him that.
Oh, good.
That's the et cetera.
So we're gonna move the excavator up there tomorrow to start back on the Knox Road, depending on what was decided to do with Basin Street. Or top of Basin Street where that catch basin is. If you will. So that's that. The dry wells for the park and East Street, they are there. They're all, holes are all in, they're ready to go. He wants to know if you want to stage them like in front of the park, if you want them to bring them down when we need them, or if you have another staging place in mind for that. So,
How long are they gonna be there?
Yeah, and how much space, like, would they take up 3 or 4 parking spaces
oh,
on?
they take up a lot more than that.
Oh, yeah, they're spread out over there.
They're
Down by the
they're
falls.
8 foot round, so they're gonna take up, and you got
Could we-
5 of them. Oh, there's what? 1, 2,
Yeah, you got all
3,
bases.
4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 sections, and then all the bases and all the tops.
I would say if they know they're gonna, you know, if they know they're gonna do 2 today, if they know they're gonna do 2 tomorrow, they could have them delivered and set and take up a couple of parking spots. But I don't want them all down here sitting here.
How about, you wanna put them in your pit?
I don't have a problem with that.
We
But
can
it's a matter of loading them and getting them down here, if they got a plan for that. I mean, I can pick them and
set them
Set 'em
on.
on
We
a
could
trailer.
bring them down with our trailer. Or if Masterson's got, if their trailer is free, they could go pick them up too. We could get them down with no problem.
okay.
One way or another, we could get them down here.
Yeah, you can stage them there.
Can we
All
stage
right.
them out back behind town, Howden Hall? No?
Would destroy everything out there.
Just get it to
Tear everything up.
No, we're just asking.
There's
They're
also
big.
a septic system out
Yeah.
there.
They're big.
You're right, Ted, sorry.
Somewhere.
Somewhere.
Alright, so I'll call him tomorrow and let him know. You can bring them to your
Put
pit.
them on the park, kids will use them, play and crawl up.
They will,
They will.
there's big holes in them, they can crawl through them.
Yep.
Doesn't sound like a great idea.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
pushing down South
Okay.
Street.
So on Basin Street.
Basin Street.
So Basin Street,
Talking about the top of Basin Street where the sidewalk is? Or
yeah, where we dug the sidewalk, where it washed out and
Where it
everything
washed
through
out.
there.
Yeah, how many loads of gravel did you put in there?
That were gone? 2.
There's something desperately wrong
Yeah,
with
it's-
East Street right there. If you look at it from the entrance to Shaw's down to Basin Street, the road comes across and then it just collapses towards the river. There's something going on there. There's
Something underground is moving.
and there is also, as I understand it, some kind of a cavern underneath the
Yeah.
eastbound.
It's
Oh,
a
underneath
stone,
the road?
Yeah.
stone
It's a
cement lane.
It's a
Sluice way.
stone laid sluice
Yeah.
way, it's about 6 foot deep.
Yeah,
Yep. That goes across the road.
And it's in
catches that.
really good shape.
It is in really good shape. There's no cracks that we
So
saw.
is that
on
where
it.
it comes out and that's what
So-
washed away?
What
So-
happened was,
Where it was washing was right here, this, you see what's left of the culvert.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
It all
Yep.
rotted out.
Yeah.
Here you can
Yeah.
see that.
Oh, yeah.
That was under that cone, you know where the cone was?
Yeah.
That was, the cone was right here, this culvert rotted out and everything was dropping down in there.
Oh, there.
And that's why the water went over the road, was because
that
this tube plugged.
plugged and it filled up and then went over the sidewalk and then over the thing.
There's something even more extensive than that.
And
You
that's,
just look at the road on
It all just,
the, yeah.
yeah.
on one lane, it stays flat, and the minute you get to the center line, it just drops.
You don't think that maybe they did that intentionally for the water to go down there?
I'd
I
be
mean,
surprised.
water to-
So the question I have is, do you want to leave that cement thing there? Because
It always took the water until that culvert plugged.
exactly. The only reason I'm asking, because if you want it, leave it there, then tomorrow we'll go and we'll put that pipe back in where it was originally.
There's only about, it's a 90-degree turn between the catch basin and that stone sluice.
Yep.
So he had to order the pipe for that. That's why it was
Yep.
just temporarily fixed. You ran a pipe.
Just
over
ran a
there.
pipe over the bank for temporarily.
Yeah.
So, we can fix that tomorrow, put that back.
And keep the 90?
Yeah, and put it right back into where it was originally.
Did you see it when it was open?
Yeah.
And the alternative is,
The other alternative is if you decided that you wanted to dig that up, then you don't want to put that in until we lay the whole pipe and then configure it and all that stuff.
and it's cutting
Isn't
through
the
the whole.
90 going to be an area where there's going to be buildup of
Blockage.
stuff? Yeah.
It hasn't ever. Until
Till it
failed.
caved and then it started sifting more dirt in there. With just the silt and stuff that's going in there, there's enough, I think, because the way the road's pitched,
Yes.
there's enough force with the water going there that it's keeping itself flushed.
And it
it was
disturbs me is all the cracks in the asphalt.
Yeah, right on the edge, right, yeah.
Well, and they come back up to the
Center line.
up to the center line,
No, it's
and
just-
they're all
it's-
parallel to the
it's-
center line.
Well, we have another
It's
year.
weight in that whole bank sliding over time.
Yes, that's exactly my point.
It's no different what's gonna happen over in front of Martin's at some point.
You know, in front of the Thads and between
Yeah.
Mobile and Thads. Yeah.
At some point it will,
Can you
so.
get creamy sticks?
And the pipe that is only probably, 4 foot maybe?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of area there for sand and stuff to get built up before it gets down into that anyways.
I don't think, I'd never seen that run over the road there before,
No.
over the sidewalk there before.
No.
And we had that, he had a concern, we looked at that hole, wondered why it was there to the west of the catch basin, and when they dug it up, figured out why.
Yeah.
Because the culvert had failed and the water was going down and.
Could we ask the state through Boyce and King to see if that, I understand what Ted's saying, it's like this, it could be built up with a curb, or something between the sidewalk and there, so the road doesn't catch quite so much.
Well, when they come through, it'll be level when they get done.
That doesn't mean it's gonna stay that way. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Well, they'll grind it, will they fill it before they
Yeah,
just?
they'll fill it, they'll level it.
Okay.
I mean, unless there's a certain pitch, like, you
Yeah,
got
it's
Screw
2%.
Lake,
Right.
Screw Lake, and it's always
2%.
towards the lake. Oh, one of
I'm
those
just trying to
things.
address Ted's concern, the roll, it does roll like that, right, down pretty good, will they?
And the pavement's all cracked, so
Yeah.
something is, and it's only from there to Basin Street.
Yeah, that whole bank's like.
Yeah.
Same,
So to Eric's question about replacing the entire stretch.
I guess my opinion
So
is
then the shape that you
just
guys say
replace it
it's
what
in.
it is, yeah.
It's in beautiful
last
shape.
another
It
15
is in
years.
really nice shape. So I'll
Yeah,
just
I
fix it tomorrow
I
and put
can't
it
see
back
pulling
in.
something that's in that good a shape out. We have
That's
a lot,
How
we
far
have a
did you
lot
go?
worse. I didn't go any further than what was legal, Ted.
What's legal?
I stuck my hand in, I didn't.
I'd let
Yeah,
you see
but
my
flashlight.
video, because I did the same thing with my phone, but I'd make you seasick.
Okay.
I don't get C6.
All right, you got,
Oh,
any more questions for Eric, you guys?
Did you have something else you wanted to pave or flop, or did you change your mind, or?
I was thinking about doing, hold on a minute, Hewitt Road Bridge, from there to bottom of Teacher Hill, on the lower notch, because that's getting
That's
pretty
in rough
bad
shape.
down through there.
Yeah.
Um,
And not do what?
And then, well, I'd only have time to pave either the notch or that down there this year.
What about
So you
this?
would ditch the notch? like
Ditch
you're
the
go-
notch.
That you showed us on the drive-by?
Yeah, but there's still gonna be quite a bit of work down on that section of lower notch, because there's a sinkhole in there that we gotta dig up to see what's going on there.
So that would give you a winter to settle maybe if you don't pay.
Right. And the stone bank, the bank coming down, there's probably, according to Mike, he's thinking there's like another foot of pavement that's covered that we'd have to retrieve back. And then going around the corner, there's a rock in there that bubbling up through the pavement. There's a big hump there. So we'd have to dig that up and get that out of there. So there's probably 3 weeks worth of work down there.
Down on the...
Down on the lower notch.
From Hewitt to Tatro Hill.
From the Pine Ridge down,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Down past.
So my thought was,
I missed it.
huh?
Or on that.
From the High Bridge down
From
to
the bridge
116.
to the bottom of Tatro Hill,
116.
where that flat section through there.
Where that ends.
Because we paved to the bottom of Tatro Hill, and then, but we haven't gone, and then South Street is paved to the bridge. So we have just that little section
Right,
left
right.
in between.
You're on the
right
wrong end.
Yeah, no, you're on the
No,
wrong end of Lower Notch Road.
I thought he showed us there by,
Yeah, on the Notch
Kevin.
Road.
yes, on the...
We're talking about Lower Notch.
Right, I know where you guys are, Hewitt Road, I agree with that, down here. But
But
he's got to do a lot of digging
he's saying 3 weeks worth of work there to get that ready.
down
Yeah,
here.
and then Notch Road's probably 3 weeks worth of work to finish that up here. There's 2 culverts that gotta be changed. You gotta stone the hill and
So you won't
finish
do any of that
ditching.
this year. Possibly not do any of that this year.
Possibly not do it, possibly get it done and ready, so that way in the spring, I can call Mike and have him come in and give me a price, and hopefully he would give me another really good price on pavement like he did for North Street.
What's the possibility, these 3 weeks here, you're in the middle of September.
And then we
you
got
went up
2
there and did at least the stuff that's not in the road. So you're not digging up pavement and have to patch pavement. Like you
Oh,
do
we would
you
patch
do
it.
the lining,
We would patch it by hand.
but you do the ditching and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but you don't think you do both projects? No, you do both projects, but only pave one project.
If we can get them both done this year, we might be able to get both of them paved next year, depending on what the price comes in at.
Okay. But
What about just shimming from Hewitt Road to Tatro Hill?
And that's another thing I thought about doing too, is just shimming it.
What if you you could shim them both and
At
then...
least.
That'd give you a
The
couple
base on it.
years.
And it would give you, you know, it wouldn't be digging it up, plowing it all winter.
Right.
Right, and then shim them both.
Yeah.
If you got them both done, and then you could put a top coat on both of them the following year. If that's...
He hasn't got time to get them both ready.
No. And I got still 2 weeks worth of sand we gotta drop. Well, yeah, about 2 weeks worth of sand.
I saw the file was pretty...
Yeah,
We'll get you about December 15th.
Yeah, maybe. So, yeah, so there's a lot of things that, you know, we're just gonna plug away. Tomorrow, we'll do that catch basin, then we'll take it from there to the notch. We'll start stoning down the hill, and then we'll do the culverts and then continue down through ditching and...
Okay, so when we start saying the town guys can do something to reduce the cost, forget it.
I will tell you what I told Eric. I told Eric he was gonna be asked, and if
I
he
know.
didn't have time to say he didn't have time.
He did,
No,
speak up.
he did
he
tell me
didn't.
that too.
And he didn't. He said, well, if you tell me
Okay.
to do it, you're my boss, I'll do
Okay,
it.
Eric, well, you give us an update. The board got any more questions for Eric? All right, you're plugging along, thank you.
So when are you gonna take the sidewalk out on Mountain Street?
You're not.
And
In the spring.
and put coal patch over the water.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
Coal patch.
Coal, yeah.
Oh, and pull the motor and do that work yourself too, right? You guys?
So, you might as well, I don't need this for...
Give it to Peter or
Valerie.
whoever, so the equipment committee.
Oh, I might as well take that then.
Yeah.
Yep. Need it for...
Okay,
You do need it.
you can stay for one more. Mountain Street Sidewalk Replacement Project update. You read her email?
Yeah, that we received word from the contractor that the select board chose that he had a change in circumstance and is not able to start the project. It's uncertain when the project can get started, and it certainly won't be finished before school starts.
So I don't know that it's a big deal if it's not finished before school starts. I mean, me personally, and I don't know if it's a big deal if we don't wait until next spring.
Bruce, you're up there every day. If that's sidewalk is out of commission for a week from Garfield to Spring, is that going to be a major issue, you think, for kids?
I mean, any cars coming in are usually coming in through the other way.
A major issue now.
No.
At the other side of the street.
Yeah, and they can always walk down, if they're going down there and going down Garfield or the mountain, they can
right,
always
they
Go up
cross.
Spring.
They can go up Spring, go down Spring.
Well, the sidewalk's on the other side of the street too, right?
That's why I was hoping we'd get an answer that can do it before winter,
Yeah.
but
We
maybe
don't
you
know.
can follow up.
Yeah. I
But
know.
if he can't do it before winter, it's a big deal if he does it in the spring.
Well, the thing is, that is so bad, it gets really icy in the winter because there's so many low spots in it. And it is dangerous.
It's tricky. Nobody walks on the sidewalk,
No.
all in the
Well, you
green
can't.
space.
You
Yeah.
can't, because there's all water in it.
Yeah.
Or ice. And so I think a disruption for 4 or 5 days, whatever it took him to do it, would be safer than trying to go through the winter in the condition that it's in.
So,
I would agree.
yeah, I agree.
At this point, we don't know when that would be able to
Yeah.
begin.
I mean, obviously, there's an end point when you can pour cement, so.
Well, Eric has forms. Nobody knows that. I haven't told anybody that, but he has sidewalk forms. He has 100 feet of sidewalk forms.
Sold them yesterday.
Okay.
I would just say, no, I don't, no, I
Yeah,
can't.
but what Valerie's saying, Pete, is the contractor doesn't even know if he can do them at all this year.
Well.
Because of his situation that he's in now.
Right. Well, it's not.
He's advertising for help like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is, but they quit. So
Yeah.
it's just him now,
Well, him and one guy.
and one guy. So that's what she was trying to convey, that it might not even, if, doesn't know when he can start.
Okay.
So just kind of play it by ear. I mean, hope we can get.
Well, I think we need to make a decision by the next meeting.
Yeah,
Tells
I
us.
think we can talk more about it in executive too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. I think
Okay.
that's it for
Thank
you.
you.
All right, good?
Are you
Yep.
interested in the fuel discussion at all?
This is just for
Propane.
propane anyhow,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
That's all.
For the garage?
Yeah, the grain barn is the only spot that we have propane in, is the grain barn. The other one is,
Waste oil.
heating oil and waste oil.
Yeah, the boys entered, dumped those barrels yet?
What's
Waste
that?
oil- Waste oil is still sitting over there in the little gallon jugs.
Yeah,
Before the kids dump it, maybe we ought to put them in the side. If you get a moment.
the problem is, there's no room in there. It's full in there.
Oh, in that little shed.
Yeah, so that's why they leave them out there. And I do dump them. I wait till, which is probably, I wait too long, but I wait till there's a pile there. So like on a Friday, when it's a short day for us, that's what I do on a Friday, is I dump them all in that big container in there. And some of the jugs that are there.
You don't have room in your barn, your green barn, to put that in your tank?
No, that one's, well, no, there's room in there to dump them. You just can't set the jugs in and leave them there,
Oh, right.
is what I'm saying.
Okay.
But yeah, I dump them in the 500 gallon tank that's in there.
Okay.
On a Friday I do. But there are some of the jugs there that are contaminated. They gotta wait until hazardous collection is here, so I can take them, because they got antifreeze in them and they
No more of those
got.
in Bristol. There's no more of those in Bristol, they can't take them to the transfer station.
We don't have it here anymore.
Oh, okay, so Middlebury?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I can
Stop
load
by
that.
here before you go, we got some stuff to go.
Oh, sure you do.
God, you got nothing to do.
What kind of hazardous
Okay.
waste do you got here?
All right.
No, we have e-waste.
Put your shovels on and put that stuff up.
All right, thank you, Eric.
So, okay.
Okay,
So I have a question, what's the difference between pottery kiln and pottery meter?
Studio.
One's the building, one's the concept.
One's the building,
Fires
one's
it.
the-
Thank you.
thanks, Eric.
Have a good night.
Good
Good
night.
night, Aaron.
Okay.
Okay, we have things in the packet for the pre-buy. What's your pleasure?
Looks good.
Is that a motion?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to accept Jackman's fuel pre-buy for propane. Any more discussion?
Do we ever go find anybody else, or because they're local, this is who we go with? I mean, I don't
Many
care,
around.
I'm just asking.
They're the only local.
Suburban and Griffin out of New York. Yeah,
Perfect.
Griffith, thank you. Sorry. Okay, all those in favor of Jackman's pre-buy for propane, say aye. Opposed?
I think the other thing is their tank, so it's just a decision on whether we're pre-buying or we're buying daily price.
Can we say the amounts for my minutes, please?
Can we give you a sheet?
We'll give you the sheet.
Yeah.
Consider a citizen's inquiry about town interest conveying town-owned parcel on Mountain Street. May include deliberation and executive session regarding real estate negotiations. I didn't know we were
I
selling
think we need to go in and executive.
Yeah,
Selling the school?
I think we ought to do this.
We gotta do that.
Yeah, okay. Negotiations. Core area sewer application to increase allocations for Michael and Susan Keith at 20 Main Street. You saw thing?
And it turns out
Val
that
had some questions.
they do have to
They do,
do it.
okay.
I was hoping that perhaps the timing of their application predated the implementation of the new rule, but they just slipped on the other side of it, so it does apply.
Can I need to ask.
But they're not,
Do we have the capacity?
According to Brian Harrington, I believe we do.
we have 250 gallons a day.
So, I mean, I was going over their numbers and see what was different, but they, you know, they split it out by different people. But they changed the number for a receptionist
Right.
from 15 to 13. Somebody better clarify that that's right. You know, and they don't have to come back to us for 2 more gallons per day.
Well, they'll get 100 instead of, or we're just gonna give them 86.
I say give them 86.
The
That's all
application
they
is for
want?
86.
Yeah.
So,
That's what they
and,
want.
and it doesn't mean, they're already there, right?
Right.
They're
So they're
already
not gonna use anymore, they just need this for the state.
Right,
Correct.
right.
Right.
And the question that also is the fee. And it appears to me that this is a correction to their original application, rather than a new application. So that it's,
So
So
it's
just
at the
pay for the
lower-
gallonage, just pay for the gallonage, I would agree.
so the way that it works in the fee structure, for the first additional 100 gallons of a new application, it's $625. And then for each additional 100 gallons after that, it's $312.50, so it's half of that. One could argue that their first application, the original one, was that first 100 gallons, and that this is a correction to that, rather than it being a new 100 gallons. So,
I move we allow them to have the 86 gallons for 300 and...
1250.
1250.
Okay, got that, Tasha?
No, I didn't hear you.
Speaker, give them 86 gallons for $312.50, and Ted, I think, second? Ted, second.
312 what?
50.
Is that additional gallons or?
86 additional.
Should get an 86 gallons for $312.50, not 312 gallons. Okay. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay.
thank you.
Number 8, consider establishment of the townwide environment study committee. Jimmy, you'd like to be spoken?
Just gonna do a little fact check first before you guys start on this. For 16 years, we've been working on this. And all the information that we had was given to the former chief. On October 26, 2017, we met with Bruce. And he at that time told us he didn't have anything there. Within 48 hours, we got it together and we gave it to him.
I had some of the information, I
You
didn't
some
have
of it?
all of it.
Okay, guys, okay.
You found some of it?
Okay, he had some from Kevin.
So, at that time, the advisory board advised him if you need any assistance, let us know. We haven't heard anything to date. So this comes as like a blindsided thing, because now we, apparently all the work that the board did, which included Joel, myself, various members of the advisory board, Randy Crowe, apparently none of this was any good, because now we seem to have a new townwide committee. It's a waste of time. All the information is there. The only thing that changes is the amount it would cost the taxpayer. Let's see here. In March of this year, this board was polled as to your top 5 priorities. With the exception of one, nobody had townwide expansion as one of their priorities. With all the bonds and the budgets that are coming up, it's probably not a good time to even think about this. All right, there's other viable situations which have been brought up in the past by many people, including John. There are various decisions on police department. Let's see here, what else we got? It's really very simple. Town meeting, you put out a resolution, a non-binding resolution to the town. The select board is thinking about a townwide expansion. It would cost X amount of dollars per $200,000 home. Are you in favor? Yes or no? If the majority says yes, fine, then you go ahead and you do it. It's so simple. We do not need another committee, form a committee, waste time, waste resources for what? We already have all that information. That's all I have to say on it.
Okay.
Except I do realize that the advisory board is on its way out. It's quite apparent, and they want to utilize us, and that's fine.
Okay. Bruce, I'm gonna hear you, then John, then I'll let you. Bruce, you want to start in?
All of the information that was gathered is not wasted. What I was looking at was we're at a point that we should be making some kind of decision, and felt that if we had a committee update the information, or if people had questions or concerns, we could try to get those answers. And finally, yes, put it to a vote. We have to make a decision in about 4 years, 3 to 4 years about our building. So I think logically the first step should be, if we are thinking of going townwide and we are able to do that, that should be first. So.
Okay. Okay.
I know this is something we've been looking for the last,
Since I've been on, before I got on the board.
20-something years.
yeah, and you know, our former chief could never, he always said he
I
had
wait
it,
for that
but
presentation.
we never saw it, so I'm happy to hear this.
Okay. Okay. Any more comments from the board before I let John? John?
So, I'm not speaking to the advisability of having this new committee or not, but if you have a new committee, I think a majority of the committee members, and not just a one-person majority, but a solid majority of the committee members should be in-district residents. I think you want to avoid a situation where you have a majority of any board that's going to make a recommendation that who doesn't pay taxes on the recommendation they may be supporting. You know what I mean? I'm not sure I'm explaining that right, but if you had a committee that was mostly people outside the district, that everyone does to build a $50 million police station, and could vote on that and carry the majority, but none of them are going to pay for it because they live outside the district, it would be problematic to say the least. I think it would be taxation without representation.
I think the idea of this, though, John, is to get us to a point where we know whether they're going to be in the district or not.
Right. So I hope that before we go forward with any sort of binding decision on what direction to go, that we have a really holistic look at policing in the town. How much do we need? How much do we have? How does that change? You know, I don't buy the direct corollary between if we go town-wide, then there has to be an automatic expansion of personnel and number of cars. And I don't think that that is an absolute tied together equation. You know, we already have effectively a town-wide system. I mean, is there any call you wouldn't go to for mutual aid all the way to Virgin's if you got the call?
For mutual aid?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll go wherever.
Right.
For mutual aid.
And if there were something outside the district where it was a violent crime, something obviously that's a big deal, big car accident or something like that, you're going down there.
Yeah, there would be mutual aid.
Right. So in many ways, as a pragmatic situation, we already have a town-wide thing. The only thing is only the village pays for it.
No, it doesn't. When he goes out of the village and district, the town gets billed and the town people pay for that.
Right.
If it goes
Well,
outside.
so then people in the district pay twice. Right. So,
I think that's.
and when you do outside of the district patrols, if it's not funded entirely by the state, then I'm paying you to leave the district that I pay you to police to go outside the district.
Did you pay again?
Right. So it's crazy. It really doesn't make any sense. So
That's the purpose of getting a committee.
Yes.
And getting all this information, making sure that we answer any questions that people have.
Yeah,
and we really need to look at realistically where we are today and where we should be in the future. This is a great asset that we have. How do we continue to make this grow?
Yeah, and I feel like very strongly that our police department is in a great place right now. Like, it's functioning really well. I see a lot of presence, and that's great, and I support that. So anyway, I just wanted to endorse a holistic look at all the possibilities, all the iterations of what a police department in Bristol, be it village, stays in the village or goes townwide, what that looks like before we do anything is. And I would like to volunteer for the committee if you'll have it. So that's all I have to say.
Don, I agree with most everything you're saying, but I do believe that it's important to have people outside of the current district on this committee, because they are the ones that are going to promote, they're the ones that are going to get hit with the taxes, because their taxes are going to go up, and those people will be able to influence other people outside, hopefully, outside the district.
Yes, I agree. I mean, there's only 8 members here, so it should be an odd number, first of all, but it could be a larger committee and be inclusive.
Just know, being involved in a major school bond, that was critical to have people that people respected and could explain the pros of
You have a lot of different constituencies in the town, and you could build a committee that speaks to a lot of those, and so that's all.
The committee was a suggestion to start with, so we could get some more feedback on.
Yeah.
You know, we want to get the right size, but you know, we don't want to be too large either.
Okay.
So.
And John, just to be clear, I hear that all the time about, well, I'm paying for that already, and then my taxes went up, or I'm paying for him, the cruiser to be on Moncton Road to do some hour patrol and this and that, and then you build it down. We have people concerned about the speeding in the town, not just in the village. And so we used to hire the sheriff's department, $12,000 went out of here and went to Court Street. And it was a few years ago that we said, why don't we put that in our own revenue stream?
I'm for it.
And not leave this village. So, yeah, I mean, I paid for that grader that we're going to be getting, and I ain't seen it. I see it go by the house, I never see it straight.
Oh, I've seen it peel ice in front of your house.
Yeah, you're right. So, but, you know, that same thing.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of big considerations in this thing, you know, in this whole basket of issues.
But to Jimmy's point is, and I think to some extent Bruce is agreeing with it to some extent, is a lot of the work has been done. It just needs to be touched up, fined up, and redone. Not redone, make sure it all still is current and
information, and if there's any issues or concerns that weren't recognized before, that people see now. And I think we should have, if we go through this process, every option that's available to include no police department up to expanding. So people have all of the information. These are your options, these are your choices, pros and cons for all of them, and let the town decide what they would like to do.
Is there any reason not to marry the police advisory committee with the townwide study committee?
I just think that we're at a point that we should invite anybody that's interested to apply. If somebody on the advisory committee wants to, they could ask to be on the committee. I just think this committee should be focused on what's best for the town, and it'd be nice to have a fresh start. Everybody puts in that wants to put in, and then we decide, when I say we, you decide who's going to be on the committee.
Yeah, I think it's good. I like the timeline, because 16 years, wheels have been spinning, and
We just, we need to get the information done and get it
obviously,
out.
just like anything else, we've got to have some very solid numbers, because people aren't going to vote if they don't have solid numbers. And what it's going to, and I agree with John, I don't agree with more cruisers, more officers at this point.
Well, I think that's what this committee should be just figuring out
Right,
too.
that's-
Is that part of it, you know? Do we need it? How many do we need?
Exactly.
What's it gonna look like? Yeah.
Excuse me, Bruce, didn't you have a budget made up last year for
Did I?
townwide?
No, I had a budget made up for four full-time employees.
What
Yes.
was it, town?
Kevin was the last one that made us a
Kevin was
budget.
it? Okay.
He brought it to the advisory board, I remember that.
And it was double.
Huge.
Yeah, it went from two,
Yeah, the proposals I've heard, I've never really seen anything, was 2 more officers, another cruiser, and the people in the district aren't going to save any money.
I think it was even more than 2, if I recall.
I think it was.
I think it was 4.
Yeah. And 2 new vehicles.
Right.
Yeah.
We did have a survey done several times, and it was always like a 50-50 on whether or not to do it.
And again, we still have all that information, so we can share that with the committee and.
So how do we want to put something on Front Porch Forum like we've done for other committees? How do we want to get people that are interested?
Do you guys have a recommendation on the size of the committee? Because I mean, currently the numbers that I have, it's 8. That's an even number. I don't know if that makes a difference or not. And as John pointed out, maybe.
It only makes a difference if you have a tie and a
Right.
vote. You know, that's the only reason you would want to do an odd number.
But do you
But
think
you
we,
Nine.
do you have
When
a
you consider-
recommendation or suggestion on?
Well, when you
numbers?
consider that the whoever the select board member is probably not gonna vote at that meeting, so
Right.
it'll be,
7.
Then 7, you're right.
Mhm. 7 members plus a select board member.
I feel if it comes out 4-4, it's not worth moving it forward.
When you consider the effort that the Police Advisory Committee has put into this, I think that the members of the Police Advisory Committee should be given some kind of preference.
Well, how many people on the police advisory committee?
None of the members are gonna wanna continue.
They are.
I had to talk them
Okay.
to continue.
That takes care of
And
that.
that's basically why we have everybody expiring March of 20. Because none of the other, one passed away and the other 3 don't. They didn't wanna be there to begin with, I had to beg them to stay.
I'm just suggesting that we pull some from there, just because they are so, they've worked so hard on it already.
Well, I'd be willing, like John said, he volunteers, I'd be willing to volunteer as long as Joel was on it. Because we've worked on this thing for so long. It's up to you guys. If you want fresh meat, go ahead.
We'll see what we get from
Right.
applicants.
Yeah.
May not even have 8.
well, if it works anything like the committee did that did the design of the firehouse, it'll be a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think we have the people in this community that are willing to put that effort into it, including you two. I don't, so.
Okay.
Are you saying just 7 committee members, or are you gonna put a,
7 committee members plus 8.
but I'm saying, are you gonna say, okay, 3 from the district?
It's
Whatever.
outlined in Bruce.
7 and the chief, because the chief doesn't vote, is that it?
No, I was asking, out of the 7, are you saying
How
3
many
of them
district,
being
how many
district,
non-district?
Yeah.
or
We'll see what we get for applicants.
that same thing? So, okay.
Well,
I have a suggestion, yes.
Yeah, you
I
got it.
suggested 2 business people, 2 district residents, 2 non-district residents, and a select board member, and myself.
I just would request that the business people live in Bristol.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, because there are people who own businesses that don't live
Right.
there. Not necessarily in the district.
Not necessarily in the district, but in the town.
In the town.
So the question is, Peter, then, is that going to be one of the business representatives or a town representative? I'd like that.
No, it's separate, completely separate. Business
So
representative.
that's 3, okay, HBA's president or vice president. Your brother Peter wants to be on the committee, he owns a business here in town. Or
Is he one of 2?
Is he-
that what you're saying?
now 3 non-residents?
Yeah.
Well, it may be.
I asked the question.
Yeah.
Or it
Well,
may be 2 business people from Main Street.
yeah.
Right.
We've,
Then you don't have anybody from the town. So we're gonna interview these people,
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
well, we're based on, either we'll interview them or what we know about them and their application.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll go with that. Yeah,
Rest record.
Okay. All right.
All right.
So we're
So
going
it sounds like a consensus
Yes,
to support
yeah.
the recommendations
Yes,
as
absolutely.
proposed. And I don't know if we need to decide at this point, at what point there might be a special, the vote, the town vote, whether
Yeah.
it's in January or
Think
town meeting.
that's way water before the
Yeah,
budget.
yeah.
You're gonna have
I
huge
like-
turnout in November 2020. Would be a really good time for any kind of big townwide vote. Just turnout's gonna be gigantic.
I just look at the cost of the special meeting.
Yes.
And, and what that would be.
Yes.
It may
If we're
do us-
gathering to vote anyway, we
To
may
do
as
it
well be doing
on
it
on town meeting.
Town meeting day.
Also give an
Town meeting,
opportunity-
maybe
Opportunity to have some discussion about it before at town meeting.
yes.
The only issue you run into is then you have a whole year before you can implement it. because you'd be voting on a police district budget the following day, assuming it failed.
Yeah.
And so you wouldn't be able to implement until July 2020 because
So
you
way
wouldn't have
faster than it's been going.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I know,
and
but
it
I'm
would
just
give us
saying.
plenty of time to get a good.
I don't see that
just
as a bad thing.
I'm just making sure
Yeah.
that's an understanding is that when people would vote on it, it's not something that's a turnaround that would happen tomorrow, like
Right.
voting for an elected official.
Well, that would probably be best because that way he wouldn't have to prepare two budgets this
To me, I
year.
would even
You'd
go
have to
July
have
1,
two budgets
2021.
before our deadline in January if we hope to implement it.
Right, like you'd have to, basically you just have to wait a whole year. It's the only thing I just wanted everyone to.
Well,
No,
in the meantime, you have to
recognize.
be thinking about building too, so.
Yeah.
This is a big step, and so if we have some time to work out all the little details, I don't,
Most of the details should have already been worked out as they've done quite a bit of work on it.
yeah.
It's just, it's been put off and put off and
Yeah.
put off. It's another year that the district residents, if we had the ability to go townwide, another year, this expense is all on their backs. So,
One idea, if you want to get people invested in the conversation and some eventual outcome, you could, at this town meeting, propose spreading the tax rate across everybody in town without any changes to the structure or the function of the police department. Spread the cost out to everybody. That will definitely get people's attention. And then you'll have a very good public conversation in subsequent time.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure I want to be lynched.
I think we need to go back and look at the merger agreement and what that was.
Yes.
Because I think it's very clear in that merger agreement that the police district would remain.
Is that right? So it's written
It
into
has
the
to have-
hardware sort of?
It has to have two votes.
Yeah.
One would be for the district people would have to vote to disband the police department,
I see.
and then the town would have to vote to.
Go townwide.
Yeah, okay, I get it.
To have one.
I suggested you could.
But he's got-
Non-binding resolution.
If we wanted to be crucified, we could do that. We could just make the town's portion.
Right.
Well, I don't know if you would, because you'd have all these people in the district now who would love you for that, so.
No, because
Might work out.
they're gonna pay twice at that point. They're gonna pay 1.5 times, but it'd be spread out, so but it'd still be, yeah.
It would definitely get people's attention.
The in-town people would be happy, the out-of-town people would not.
Right, right, how many, what's the population
Right.
comparison?
What's changed about
Okay, alrighty. Think you got some direction? We'll put it out, maybe by October 1, I'm thinking, or late September, you probably.
He's got a timeline.
I'd like to
He's
do
got a timeline.
rather quickly, to
Yeah.
get the committees so we can sit down as a committee and start discussing things, get some direction and really move on
I
it.
think volume of call,
Yeah,
that'll come from
all
the
of
state police,
yeah,
that'll be it.
all the information that I know that I will get.
I know we had some of that in our
Yeah,
old
but
report.
we just need to update it.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Consider bond sale bids for the public's $259,715.60 stormwater improvement bond and a $572,803.24 for public water system improvement bond. These are, for the camera, these improvements have been done, correct?
Correct.
It's not new improvements. These improvements have been done. These are now going to a bond instead of a short-term note.
And the voters have approved.
And the voters have approved both of these. Now this board has to approve whether we want them, how we want to bond them.
And to my knowledge, no bids were received, so the only response we have is from USDA Rural Development, and our bond council advises that the select board make a motion to accept the rural development's
So moved.
offer.
Second. There's a motion and a second to approve those two bonds. You got that, Tasha?
I don't know what the, it's
USDA.
the amount.
USD,
The USDA.
USDA, what was it, world?
Rural development.
Rural development.
Rural development.
Rural development.
Okay. Any more questions?
You
Hearing
get the
none?
numbers later.
Yeah, we'll give you
Sorry,
that.
you moved that, and you seconded.
Peter moved it.
I certainly.
And Peaker
Peter
second.
seconded.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Approval of August 5th, 2019 meeting minutes.
On your tabletop and the email.
Yep.
So moved, the only change I had was OS to SO.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes for August 5th. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Authorized accounts payable and warrant and any liquor licenses. I didn't see any liquor licenses. Okay.
$97,058.51.
Motion on those. Selectboard concerns? Oh, why don't we start with Peter on the end?
I mentioned it earlier, the weeds on Main Street, particularly around the hydrant on the north side, are despicable. And who's, I don't know, who's responsible for that? Is it the town? Is it the town? Is it the business owner?
It would be the town.
Okay.
I think Carol Wells had called and she had offered, or I think an intern, or she had hired somebody to do it last year, at least in her area.
Yeah.
And she made the offer to try to bring that person back and see if the town would be willing to pay that person to do that work.
I'll go down through and weed whack.
Well, that's what I'm bringing my weed whacker. I mean, it's grown up through the bricks, and I don't think there's anything we can do about that, but where it's grown out onto the sidewalk, this looks horrible.
Want to meet sometime, Peter, this week? Down there? Go
It'll
down.
have to be this week, I'm gone next week.
Okay.
Tuesday
Tuesday or Thursday, Peter?
Well, Thursday morning, we're here for a tabletop exercise, but other than that, well, no, not tomorrow either.
You want me to cut them when I'm out walking? I walk twice a day.
If you would, please.
You want to borrow my weed whacker?
Yeah.
I've got clippers in the vehicle. I've been hitting some of the road signs. I'll take care of it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, that it, Peter?
That's all.
Bruce, you're more than welcome to take my weed whacker. He'll do it.
Keeps in shape.
Police officer with a dangerous weapon.
Michelle?
I'm good.
Peter?
I'm good.
Pet?
I had a call about the fact that we do not have a noise ordinance in town, other than the one from the state. And I was wondering if it was possible to start working on a noise ordinance.
If memory...
I had a couple of calls about somebody in town who was making a bunch of noise Sunday morning during church and the likes of that. And the noise ordinance we get from the state allows it until 10 o'clock at night. That's a little much.
Oh, yeah, but
I think there's a noise ordinance
we have
for the old
something.
village.
I don't know where it is.
If
I thought we
you
had
could have
something.
Sharon look it up, because I can remember
We've tried.
when Sealand was chief here and, partying going on in the 70s, and there was the trustees passed an ordinance for noise.
There's some in the release
Where is it?
policies or something.
I don't know.
I think there's a noise ordinance in there.
I don't believe there is, because I remember
the one for the park.
the
There's
year
one for
we,
the park.
for the park there may be, but the year we won the state softball tournament, we were riding around the back of the pickup hooting and hollering, and we were told that we had until 10 o'clock and then we had to be quiet.
Yeah, but,
That's
okay,
a
so
state
after 10, but before when? I mean, is there a time in the
For
morning?
10:01.
10 at night, but
Ted brings a good
8
point.
o'clock
Maybe if we
this morning?
can't find anything, even a bit of something. I remember something when this trustees passed in the 70s, early 80s, late 70s. Maybe it was a little later than that.
I don't know, you and I had this discussion about noise ordinances and what
And it had to do with the parks.
It had to do with the park.
And they don't like it.
No, I was just, we were talking about your,
I have
The noise
a 55 decibels at the property line is what I'm allowed, otherwise I had to get,
Buffers.
and the average conversation is 60 to 65 decibels.
At what
Yeah.
does
So,
Yeah, the neighborhood.
the whole noise thing is really it. And then, the lawn mowing service will show up at Sunday morning and start mowing the lawn down the neighbors, and their weed whacker makes way more noise than I make, so. I just,
well, that's what I was asking, the state noise ordinance says 10 PM, but, okay, 10:01, can you then start being noisy again, or do
No,
they
I
say
think
10
it's
until
like-
8?
It's usually
10 to 6.
10 to 6, I believe,
Something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's early morning.
Yeah, but even at 6 o'clock, I mean,
church starts at 8, 10, 10:30. I mean, you can't really control
7:30 in the
people.
morning, I'll mow the lawn.
I won't mow my lawn at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
If that's when I have time
It's
to
a
do it,
matter of
that's when I
being
do
a
it.
good neighbor
That's
as
right,
well.
Ted, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah, if your neighbor says, hey, I work the graveyard shift, 11 to 7.
I even talked with Bill Elwell because one of the issues was the door to his church was open
Yeah.
and somebody was running a piece of equipment across the street. There weren't any complaints from Bill Elwell or any of the parishioners. The person that called was somebody else.
No.
And it wasn't only one person.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just brought it up because we don't
Put it on
seem to
On
have
your list
a
of
functioning
policies and other things
noise
we're gonna look at.
ordinance.
Well, we did that, we had complaints when the fire department was there. One night we were out testing our equipment and we had complaints that, you know, the alarms on our
Packs.
Packs
On the
and
back.
starting the
Yeah.
starting
And
the
this is that really,
saws.
somebody came by and says, is that really necessary this time of night? When else would you have us do it? This is one we've always done. But that
8
doesn't make
o'clock
it,
at night,
I guess that
7:30.
doesn't make it right.
Well, that's
True.
when you have your training. I mean, not everybody's around
Not
every
that
day to do
late.
it.
So what is the sense of the board? Do you want to add this to the list or of things to do?
I don't think it'd be a
It's
bad.
not, I mean, I don't care if it's on the list, it's not gonna be top priority. Not with all the other stuff we've got going on, but it can be added, certainly added to our list.
Maybe about 9:30 at night, I'll start running some oak through my planer upstairs, Peter. That'll echo the doors. I'll leave the doors open. Your mother won't hear me yet?
Forget it.
No, no, I agree with Ted. We can at least look at it and I don't even know what the statement says. Does it say it's after? Bruce said-
I just happen to have a copy of that here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, where is it?
Okay, so.
Does the town of Middlebury have a noise ordinance? I wonder if we can get there, so town of Middleborough, City of Virginia, see what they have for noise ordinance. Yeah, at least look at it and see what it
Ted,
says.
anything else?
Oh, yeah, oh, I can cross risers off, can I? North
Yeah, there you
Street
go.
risers, yeah. Lauren Lathrop had a problem with the catch basin by his driveway. Evidently, the catch basin is too high or there's a low spot next to it so that the water isn't going into the catch basin, it's ponding up at the end of his driveway. And he was interested in seeing if that could be remedied before that little pond turns into an ice rink.
Where is that?
Lauren Lathrop's-
Oh, Warren.
The new paint.
Yeah,
Maybe.
greenhouse on North Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't grade it right, did they?
If that's happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that was the concern originally. That's why they ground it, so they could
Yeah,
get the water over to that edge and have pavement there.
yeah.
Well, evidently, the low spot needs
Is
to be,
before the,
and it needs to be filled in. The water is going around the catch basin and ponding up, and he's concerned.
Okay.
So, there. Dog poo, yes, again, it's still in the plastic bags at the base of trees and power poles. And I wish people would watch and see who's doing it.
Take a picture. I mean, people have their cameras out for everything
Yeah,
else.
honestly.
Take a picture.
take a picture and put it on Front Porch Forum.
Of dog poo?
Yeah.
Yeah, and say,
You don't
who's
need one.
doing this?
No,
Or
send
maybe
it-
get
send
a
it-
dog, you'll know what it looks like.
Send it to Bruce and say, can you post this?
Or no, the location, maybe people say, you
Is
know.
this occurring on?
Pardon?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what street's it occurring on? And
Oh, it's
Yeah, it's
everywhere.
all over.
You walk a lot, I walk a lot,
Yeah.
and it's everywhere. It's every street has a little plastic bag of dog poo.
It's, usually I see it between the sidewalk and the road, in the green
No,
space,
no,
and
something.
I look at it, I say, really? You did the worst part, you picked it up.
And they tie it up in a nice little knot.
knot, right?
And if they just left it, they would decay in
Yeah.
a few months.
Carry it home with you, I know it smells bad, but.
Well, if you're gonna put it down and come back,
Huh? Who is the poop fairy?
I
Give me a
don't
name.
know. I'm just asking.
Do they leave a quarter?
Does it for me.
that's it?
Yeah.
I just, after Melanie said about cars, Munsell Avenue there, Bruce, and I know you're out and about, and everybody during the day is, maybe
maybe, I'd like to see us verify if Monsalado was really the speeders you're going up the mountain hill. I don't know how fast you can go from West Street to that stop sign and then go up. Maybe the speed cart,
I'll put the speed card, I've had it on.
and verify and say, you know what? We
They,
had it there for a week, we didn't see one.
People tend to think the vehicles are going faster than what they are.
Yeah, they do.
Because
Yes.
when you're close to the road and.
My neighbor used to thought.
Especially when you're walking. But stop signs, yes, we catch a lot of people rolling through stop signs.
My neighbor used to think a dump truck going to the town was told they're speeding. I go, he's not. So, all right. And then after our ash borer meeting upstairs, a few of us attended. I actually met with Chris Olson from Madison County. We have 2 trees at the bank, and I called the company that was there that night to inject that stuff, just for your guys' thought. It's $12 per inch, the width of the tree, to inject the ash trees.
How many times do you have to inject?
Once every other year.
Every other year, yeah.
So there is 5 ash trees right on the park themselves, just on the park. There's
It's
5.
amazing how many ash trees are around.
I know they,
Right.
in the report that night, we said something like 32 in the village area.
At least.
And
I thought it was closer to 40.
Yeah.
well, 32 is 40, somewhere in that.
Some of them are already
Gone.
infected.
Yeah, but I was gonna
Very
say,
much
if you
so.
inject them and they're already infected,
Well, you
Chris
want
Olson-
to prioritize which ones you're gonna
Right.
treat.
Our trees, we got a few dead branches. He says, the day you get them injected, also cut off the dead stuff. Get with a tree guy and cut off the dead stuff. And then you shouldn't get very little more. So, but I just thought, you guys, food for thought for budgeting. If you want to do some trees, it's $12 per inch.
and so what is the long-term effects
Diameter
of
or
that in a
circumference?
tree?
Diameter. The
You
width.
have to do it in perpetuity.
Right, well, no, I'm
Forever.
just thinking, okay, what are they injecting? I mean, we just had them talking about
It is a pesticide.
pesticides and it going down into the ground
No,
and all
it
that
doesn't.
other stuff.
No, they drill it into the base of the tree.
They
No.
say it doesn't, but we'll
Well,
find out
no,
in 10 years
It
from
goes into the
now.
roots and then goes up.
Yeah, that's
Takes
just
some-
the way the tree is, it feeds itself. The way they explained it that night is they drilled actually 2 holes and have 2 tubes that go in and they put this, but it goes right up the tree.
Into the cambium
Yeah,
land.
yeah.
Yep, so. And
So
that's
don't
all.
be getting maple syrup out of that.
Yeah.
Don't get any maple syrup out of that.
You don't get maple syrup out of an ash tree.
You
No,
don't?
you
That's
can't-
been the
You can't
problem.
tell the difference.
This problem this whole time.
And that's all that's all I had, so. Town
See,
administrator?
I was the original ash borer.
The only change, it's not really a change, it's an update. The change to the entry lock has not happened yet, so I'm not sure when
It
that's.
hasn't.
No.
I just got back this morning, I was there in his office at 8:30, we just got back, went through all his emails and stuff. I said, aren't you supposed to go print it lock today? Ain't gonna happen today. he
Oh,
said.
yeah, so hopefully sometime this week, but anyway, we're looking
What's
forward
wrong
to
with
it.
the door, it seems?
It pull the inside handle
It comes off.
falls right into your hand.
Oh, it's not just a set screw, huh?
No, it's a pin.
I can't believe it's $1,000 to change that thing.
No, that's for
No,
the,
that's for
the new digital lock.
Oh, okay.
So it's a 2-part project.
All right.
Repair the door handle and install the new entry door
Okay,
lock.
got it.
The keypad thing.
No.
That's all I have.
Any other business?
No.
Executive session? Personnel matter?
And
Michelle?
contract stuff.
I make a
And
motion
real
that,
estate.
I make a motion that we enter into executive session for personnel, contract, and real estate per 1 VSA section 313.
And Jen Myers had requested to attend.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor to enter executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.